Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 2020 Spring Promotion Tournament. I'm Atlas, and I'm joined by Papa Smithy for the last time, 2019, possibly the last time ever in the universe, in the history of everything.
It is factually true, Atlas. All good stories have to have an ending. Yes, I will presuppose that it was a good story. The question is, does the story end here for Jin Air's long, long association with the LCK and champions all the way from 2014 to now? Jin Air's always been around, never won the big one, but crucially, never also been relegated. The Jin Air story goes from before my time, Atlas, and it could also end today. They are demoted to challengers because it's a pretty simple equation. One best of 5, one team goes to LCK Spring 2020, to the future of 2020. One team down to challengers, and from there, who's to say how much of the roster stays together?
And look, if you've been looking around at Jin Air and other esports, things like that, I mean, how long is Jin Air going to have if they fall out of the LCK here?
Fair question.
There's a lot of speculation to be had, but hopefully we retain Jin Air, because what is the LCK without having that measuring stick of Jin Air? I'm not entirely sure. We have to remember as well, they're up against Hanwha Life, and Hanwha Life formerly, I mean, their spot was, it was the Rocks Tigers spot that was bought by Hanwha.
True.
And so theoretically, this is sort of the end of the Rocks Tigers slot in the LCK as well. So, I mean, there's a lot of history for both of these teams, even if it doesn't necessarily read the same on the nameplate.
And that one, to me, is a bit more of a forced narrative, just because, you know, ever since they changed the logo, the Rocks Tigers was the time and place, right? Whereas Jin Air haven't been able to reinvent themselves, but kind of always played forward the spirit of a slow-moving team that could never win the big one.
A team with an AD carry and then a bunch of other guys.
But I mean, even before that, Jin Air was still a squad that had a very clear identity before Teddy. In 2016, they were a slow team that played around Trace in the top lane a lot in spring season. They've always kind of been that very interesting glacial comp, if you will, at a glacial pace. Only one can survive. We've had this before, where we got to the final match and only one LCK team can stay into the future. Speaking of the future, Jin Air will hope that this is going to be a forward-facing series and not one dredged into the past of 2019, because this year it's been flawless from Hanwha Life Esports. 8 wins, no losses versus Jin Air.
Yes, and in fact, that is a stat that is a little bit facetious, because there's a lot of teams with a record like that against the Jin Air Greenwings. That being said, I mean, we have to talk about it, because Jin Air, it's been quite a while, hasn't it, Papa Smithy, since they've won a game against another LCK team.
And that's right. To win a series, games, they've come.
Yes,
but
that's true.
Series, that's the harder part. Best of 3 or best of 5. The last time they beat LCK opposition was 189 days ago, start of March.
Oh my God.
When they beat the FLICKR Freaks in their only victory match-wise all year. 2-1 victory. Famously 1-35 in best of 3s. They only beat a challengers team in a best of 5 in order to remain. They lost to KT in the winners match, in case you guys are remembering back. Here is our featured matchup between Malrang and Bono. Two junglers that from time to time have impressed in 2019.
And both of them known for early game powerhouse sort of play style as well. I think Bono looks like a very different jungler if he doesn't get that sort of early game that does suit him. His Talia looked fantastic yesterday. Actually was probably the one sort of saving grace for this team when it came to engaging fights. His flash seismic shove to actually win them the game yesterday was very, very good.
And the kill participation at 15 here. Cool to have this stat. We have too many 30 stats in the LCK, so I like the 15 stat. 91%. It's high, not the highest of all junglers involved in this tournament. But remember, it's a percentage, and you can really tell. The eye test is so clear. A good Malrang game and a bad Malrang game, there's never an in-between.
Yeah, well, we'll see what Jin Air can do here, as they will be taking out Talol Park first. They have side selection for game number 1. We'll see whether Jin Air are going to be able to retain their spot. I know a lot of you guys at home are wondering whether this is the end of the era, the end of the Jin Air Greenwings in the LCK. What is it going to look like without Jin Air?
Well,
I don't know.
I know what it will look like. It will look like sadplane.jpg. Only
Yes,
one
it will.
plane can be tweeted out today, and it's been a while. We already mentioned 189 days since that Glad plane, the sole Glad plane of the year. And Hanwha Life, you know, a team that probably was very frustrated to even be in this scenario, was only locked in on the final day of the season when they lost to Team Griffin, the same team that was upsetting a lot of our top teams at the end of the season. It's been so hard to reconcile how such a big sponsor and an org that for a lot of the time was the perennial 6th place team might actually just be relegated straight up after today's match.
Exactly. Went from 6th to 9th, and it wasn't where they wanted to be. It looked like KT Rolster were definitely going to be the team that were down here, but with their surprise victory, surprise to some, over Kingzone in their final match, were able to clutch it out against Hanwha Life that had the better game score. You know, this was the team that looked like they were relatively safe, but not going to be the case. And now Jin going to fight for their LCK lives against a Hanwha Life that are doing exactly the same. I want to talk about the top lane for a little bit here because it's really, really fun. These are the swapped top laners. Of course, Soan moving on over to Hanwha Life, and Linderung coming over from Hanwha Life to Jin.
That's right. Hold your hand over the logo. Pray to the Glad Plane gods, as Linderung is. I hope you're all doing this at home. But I'm with you. It is fun how they've traded places. And look, not necessarily to the benefit of either of their careers in 2019 yet. Both have been pretty good in this tournament.
Soan especially. That guy's been popping off.
I think Linderung had some pretty good games too. As Aatrox obviously is something that he's always played. You know, following on, I was like, wow, Jin's in great form. They won game 1 yesterday, and I'm like, yeah, Jin Greenwings. Straight sets, and then it didn't happen that way. They fell off
it all
a cliff
came
a bit.
crumbling down just a little bit. Kind of if you went to sleep after the TSM Game 2 victory.
They built something to crumble, and that was
did.
already pretty impressive.
Yeah,
in the
they had something to lose, Bubba Smithy. Oh my God!
But now both teams have a lot to lose, right? So even though we'll probably be reminiscing about LCK days past because of the auspicious day for everybody, this is it's a really big match. You know, like it will never be the same LCK whichever of these teams misses out. But Jin obviously has the longer tenure. That's why you really do wonder what it looks like to have an LCK without Jin to compare to, because whether they were a 6th place team, an 8th place team, or a 10th place team, Jin was always Jin, and that was, the league was stronger and richer from it.
I think so too. I think you need the Jin measuring stick at all times. And it's funny because both of these teams have been sort of that for a long time. I mean, the identity of Hanwha Life was, if you can beat us, then you're a top 5 team, and if you can't, you're definitely 7th and below.
And honestly, when both teams were at their best, which again was around the 6th place spot, Jin was that for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Jin was the famous team for being the Robin Hood. Whatever they were, they would rob from the rich, they would upset a challenger, but they would lose to a bottom place team. It's almost like 2 people who played Robin Hood have fallen on hard times, you know, because unfortunately,
no one taking their carts through Sherwood Forest anymore, Bubba Smithy.
While Hanwha Life was robbing, you know, they were getting robbed actually also to finish as low as they did. And here we are, 1 best of 5 remaining for Jin Greenwings and Hanwha Life. Potentially not back to the LCK for a long while, and who's to say ever? Let's see how we go. We're still on patch 9.16, locked all the way since the start of the playoffs.
It's been a really long time that we've been on this patch.
Good old Pantheon is disabled. We've been watching him play in the support role at EU Masters. A couple of days off since our Worlds qualifier. Last time I was here was 5 banger games. How about 5 more? Probably a little bit different, but I'll take them between Hanwha Life and Jin.
Well, let me just tell you, Bubba Smithy, best of 5s have been a different story in this particular tournament. Yesterday was a weird and wonderful experience.
It was the best of 5. It was the worst of 5.
Well, we had look, we had colorful language, we had colorful play.
You spoke French. Your French is getting better.
I learned from the best.
Ooh la la. Look, it was some friggin' yakety sax, all right?
It was definitely some friggin' yakety sax. LS's friggin' ability to catch, I think, is what we were talking about yesterday, as the Volley Bear is going to be banned away from Linderung. Weird that Ixu isn't on this team, because otherwise I'd be talking about top lane bans. But nope, it is going to be that Kai'Sa Volley Bear that has been trudging around the promotion tournament thus far.
I feel a bit robbed to not get Ixu in my final game.
Are we talking about Robin Hood again?
I really wanted to talk about his Bitcoin leaving and stuff. Still the best and most random story of all time.
The fact that he then went to LMS and changed his name is just really strange.
And it was kind of bad, and then came back and was
good.
Basically, Alex Ich kind of elo boosted APK Prince in that best of 5. He's he's a character. So far the bans here are a little bit less interesting, although Callan was the original Volibear bot lane, and that's why he's getting the respect bans here. And Jinair will kind of invariably always draft to get Root a strong 2v2 advantage. They played a lot of Varus Tom when that was in meta.
All right, Gragas or Aatrox? Which one is it going to be, Papa Smithy?
I mean, I'd actually think the jungle here could actually be the priority. Like the feature match came in.
The Elise is there.
The Elise has been heavily contested. Now we'll see a Yuumi here, and because finally Korea has had 2 visits from the Garen Fairy, will we see Garen for a 3rd time, and will I get to cast my first game of Korean Garen?
Well, I hope it works out better than it did for Team Dynamics yesterday, because the Garen Yuumi looked honestly terrible.
Yes, I mean, I watched those games, and they were terrible, but I still want to see it just so I can say I cast a game of Korean Garen. Been denied so far. I got the G2 game, but that wasn't really a game.
That wasn't Korean Garen, because we didn't even know what Korean Garen was about.
Garen. Yeah. Just to be clear, but it was kind of a tribute to me, so it was an awkward scenario all around.
Yeah, very strange. Well, the Gragas is going to be locked in, and I really like Gragas at the moment. Don't like Garen so much. But the Gragas has been really doing some fantastic things.
Here we go.
Okay.
So they're going to rip away the bullet hell lane to try to remove Yuumi's best friend. Definitely in Korea, the Ezreal hasn't had the same oomph of someone like the Lucian, but is it going to be the Ezreal, or will Songyun, who to his credit does like to play random stuff? Remember, he's played multiple games of Donger from the AD carry.
He has.
Will he be going something conventional like Ezreal, or will he try to prove that Garen is the way forward? Seems like the Ezreal will, in fact, be the bot lane carry, so safe, but not the extra oomph of the Lucian Yu.
No, we'll see whether Jinair can actually punish this, because, of course, already with Lucian, a lot of lane presence, that champion. See what the support is going to be from Callan, as there's the Renekton, had to be picked up here. Although, it wasn't the first pick Elise, and then it wasn't the Elise that came in for Jinair. So I guess, in theory, not necessarily the pick away that you need.
No, I mean, Gragas could be jungle, but it could be support. You could just take Elise here and remove a lot of the skill matchups from the jungle if they wanted to. Seems like that won't be the case, and we'll just go for the wife steal bot lane.
Yeah.
Kind of hoping we get the greatest hits of compositions, like somehow this really does feel like a tribute band day. We get a Juggernaut game for some reason, and some other nods to metas past, maybe a Nocturne flying through the jungle. The Elise will not be flying through the jungle this time.
I actually find it really interesting that Hanwha decided to pick the Ezreal instead of the Elise in the 2nd round.
Especially because Songyun always has fallback Ashe.
Exactly, he's got a million champions he can play.
Key also, to his credit, has a million champions.
Yeah, is playing a cat on a book this particular game, but the options were certainly there. So an odd decision to make on Hanwha's side, just to make sure that they have their lane locked in, and maybe Bono had a different idea. So we'll see what he's been cooking in the Bono shack. Maybe just not wanting to take the Elise into the Gragas matchup. Not entirely sure.
Okay, I've got the song in my head. I can actually hear, and the Bono shack. Come on, you can sing it to the tune of Love Shack. Not related to Caddyshack.
I'm not going to.
Why?
Because they'll never stop. It'll just be awful.
With a Renekton, you can understand the double AP jungle bans as Cacao best friend in the Taliyah.
Also, you know, Bono played fantastically well on it yesterday. I really like the ban. And the Yasuo is going to be taken away from Grace. Grace, of course, played that recently. Didn't feel like a Grace champion. I think that was why it snuck through until the 2nd round of picks.
Now, Aatrox is still open. Obviously, it would be a self-counter pick if it was picked into Renekton, but we got the patch notes today that kind of confirms that Aatrox might be on the endangered species list.
Yes.
Come Worlds. So is this kind of our last time to appreciate good old Aatrox? I hope somewhere LS is just saying it in his head every time the champion comes up, because, you know, if he's not around, we just won't talk about him.
Well, actually, it's just Ox now. He's evolved.
I did hear that.
Yeah.
But I'm here today, so he can be Aatrox.
I'm really glad. To be honest, I wasn't on board with the oxing.
You were very on board with LS. It went to some weird and wonderful places yesterday.
Certainly did. We had a good time.
Give us another melee laner here. Maybe it's going to be a really topside focused draw from Hanwha Life.
But it would be a heck of a lot of AD damage. So
it would.
The theory is that they're wanting to lane at least something that has some magic. Is Tempt going back to an old favorite in theory?
He
8
is
seconds to go.
Absolutely a Syndra player of repute. When the playoffs started, I was very certain we would see blue side Syndra come up more and more.
It's the LeBlanc.
I was discussing it a lot with the cast out back, and it feels like LeBlanc is like one step ahead of the Syndra, but we're very close to the Syndra blind pick on blue side meta. LeBlanc is taken, and you know what? Lissandra, pretty common answer if you're not going to be busy in the Karma, which is banned, the Lulu, which we've seen Grace actually mess up in this matchup multiple times. Why not go ultra safety into the Lissandra?
This is the most Grace that you can go. Lissandra certainly his favorite. Already played it so far this promotion tournament. Did a bit of face checking, but was still able to win the game. We'll see whether Grace is going to once again be able to pilot it well as we have a look at how the dust settles. And I quite like what Jin Air have for themselves. Malrung can get around quite early on this Gragas, get some work done, and their lanes aren't looking too bad, moving into a decent, although low range, team fight in the late game.
My issue with them is that, especially in the solo lanes, I'll actually take quite a bit of pain. After the nerfs to the wave clear on the Q, you actually have less windows to trade, so LeBlanc does even better in this matchup. It's kind of a sustaining matchup for the Lissandra. And Renekton, obviously, has a crushing advantage with a Sejuani pocket jungle against an Aatrox that he already beats. But yes, if you can just farm equally to 1.5, 2 items, then absolutely there will be a portion of the game where Jin Air can do some really nice things. Bot lane is the most swingy one for me. We know what Lucian Thresh looks like when it's winning. We also know those champions can both severely struggle from behind. So I think whoever crashes the turret bot lane first or gets the preferential rotation time out of the lane might actually be the easiest to judge symptom of who's got the biggest advantage coming into what should be a pivotal mid-game.
Yeah, the mid-game is all that this is going to be about, especially with Renekton LeBlanc on the side of Hanwha Life. If Jin Air can get past that and get towards a later stage where they're feeling good, then it could be the glad plane flying in game number 1. But there is only one way to find out, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get into it. Game 1 right now. That's what I like to hear. The Jin Air faithful are here. And with Jin Air pulling out of some other esports, maybe, just because they're a fan of the org, they have come to League of Legends to support their team. And lo and behold, they get here and they realize that they're on the cusp of being relegated. Well, now with the added support of all of these fans that are here, face check from Root, but that's going to mean that Sungyun actually has to skill E first, which is not going to do so well in the early game.
Pretty healthy crowd here in Lowell Park. It is 2 LCK teams, probably about 80% full. I was hearing yesterday that maybe it wasn't quite as full up, but obviously teams like Team Dynamics weren't going to have.
And also starting at 1 p.m. did certainly put a dampener on things.
I'm just trying to drink it all in, Atlas. Yeah. It's my last cast in here, potentially ever, but definitely for a long while. Always down to guest if I'm
I mean, it's an open invite, Papa Smithy. It's an open invite, don't you worry. I've got space on my floor.
Good to hear. Absolutely. Observers already showed double cleanse from Hanwha Life has been selected here.
Yep. Presence of mind and cut down for Key. The pretty standard stuff for the Yuumi. But gonna go with Guardian this time.
See if we see anything interesting from the room. Kellen gets plenty of lane presence, walking aftershock, but does lose the health trade, as you can see.
Yeah, Key bopping and blocking real nicely on the cat on a book. That's what this matchup can do, but we know that if one of these death sentence lands, it's going to be real difficult to stop the onslaught of damage from Root and Kellen here, but Kellen does need to take care of his health bar just a little bit.
I like that we have the spirit of Marin and Mata in this series, as we do have Samsung 2014 Thresh and SKT 2015 Renekton in this game.
Yep, we were talking about this particular Thresh skin yesterday, actually. LS was wondering why no one uses it and thought maybe it had been banned, but proof here is in the pudding, as Kellen does have that skin on lock.
I don't know if this is public knowledge, but I actually spoke to Riot a couple of times about banned skins. I know that some of the previously banned skins aren't banned anymore.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure
I know
the
it's
list
an
is way
ever-changing.
shorter.
It's an ever-changing list as well. I mean, I know a lot of them have been changed to make sure that they are in line with what can be used.
From what I understand, now the priority is more so this champion doesn't look like the champion to some people.
Grace trading really nicely.
And at the same time, it's a great time to take a trade window because look at this.
Yeah, Malrung just comes in, zones in with the barrel, and bops it away. Really good play from Malrung, and we know that he knows how to navigate an early game.
And it's way better than just good play from Malrung. Grace takes an aggressive trade as his jungler is invading, so there's no way for Tempt on the closer path to helping to actually get that help on. And now Malrung sticking around and being a real jerk.
He is, and it's serving double duty here as well, as Jinna are able to freely shove this lane towards the turret, get it into a great position. And Root's actually playing hyper aggressively here, as you can see. Gets a shield from Melanton, so he's going to be A-OK. Saxagold coming in for Sangyun, though. Holds it as well.
Do you feel like Malrung has inherited the title that Crash used to have on Longzhu, where he's either the best worst jungler or the worst best jungler? If you catch my drift,
No,
and it often does
understand,
depend on the game and sometimes the clock.
It's the Malrung giveth, Malrung taketh away type situation, I believe. I think that is definitely his playstyle.
There's nothing wrong with being the worst best or the best worst. At least you're something,
Yeah,
right?
and if you're really, really good at being bad, at least you're not in the game for very long, you know? And sometimes Malrung, that is exactly his playstyle. Even if the game's still going, it feels like he isn't there.
He just got double red, double crab, and as long as you're not explaining those symptoms to your doctor, it's a good thing.
Oh, God. Yeah, no, I wouldn't want to be doing that.
No,
I wouldn't want to be doing that at all.
You'd have
Especially if I had to explain the symptoms to my doctor, because then obviously I got a pretty crap doctor. As Bono is going to pay a visit towards the top side, you can see Linderung actually shoving this one forward. Down goes Bono, shoves in the control ward, and that is going to give Linderung the heads up that he needs to vacate. And I was going to talk about this matchup because we've seen this go multiple ways so far this tournament, and I think it's supposed to be Renekton favored.
Yep.
But Linderung and so on have both been skewing it towards the Aatrox's side.
In this particular game, Renekton has had the easiest lane ever because basically if you walk up and press your buttons and don't have to think about anything else, you're going to win because your abilities do more damage. And guess what? The enemy jungler has been basically battle warded the entire game. So it was free laning phase here for So1 because even though his jungler was taken advantage of, it was in vision of each other, therefore Renekton knew he had an isolated lane. And you know, he's got the power of Marin as well.
Exactly. He's rocking out with his croc out, as you dubbed for Marin, as
I inherited that from Monty Doa, but I embraced it because it's just risque enough. And it's really fun.
It is definitely one of the best ones. And Marin did do a lot of rocking out.
He really did rock out with his bomb, you know? Like,
to the better or worse of his team at that point in time. As we got teleports coming in everywhere. 5 Jin Air members are going to be in this Ocean Drake pit. There's lots of damage onto Kellen. They're going to have to be careful here as the Crocodile culls all of the Meek in the river. Root unable to get out. It's a double kill for So1, who continues to play like a beast here in the final game of the promotion tournament. My goodness, this guy has been so good so far, and it's continuing.
And unfortunately, Jin Air took a lot of health bar damage onto the Drake, and we mentioned that we wanted to see them slow down some tricky lanes till they had 1.5, 2 items, then launch themselves into a fight. You could see that when it's only base stats and half an item, Renekton presses ult, and he was a raid boss. He might only be the raid boss for the first area, but we're still in the first area, Atlas.
Exactly, and he managed to get on top of 5 people, and his Q hit all of them. And like, that's insane.
And he has the Sunfire Cape level of damage on the Dominus. Early game, you can get a Sunfire Cape at level 1. that stuff hurts.
Yeah, damn right it does. That ain't no little balmy cinder, nothing like that. Well, Jin Air, they're going to have to recover here, and I think we're going to be looking at Malrung to see whether he can do it. Don't know where he's going to go, though. As you can see, Grace does have himself an advantage in the mid lane. All that aggression in the early game has paid off, as Root and Kellen do have their lane in a decent position.
Oh, and now So1 has the I'm winning lane, and I've got my defensive core done, so he's a happy little chappy.
This is about as sad as you can be as an Aatrox. Drung certainly being hamstrung this game.
Hopefully we have a good Aatrox and a bad Aatrox game, just to have the full gamut before he is on the sidelines. Now, we've said that so many patches. Like, how many times have we said, pull me one out for Tom Kench?
Yeah,
and he's managed to persist.
I don't know whether Aatrox necessarily is going to fit into the same barrel as Sir Thomas. Sir Thomas gets added respect, you know, because he's such a regal gentleman. But, yeah. The Aatrox certainly taken a probably too large a hit from the nerf
I hope we get a Nami today, so I can tell her to shut up.
Hey, that's true. Your last dose of Korean Nami, maybe.
He is one of our Nami players.
He is? Okay, that's a gigantic engage from Malrong. A party ultimate comes down from Bono, and Malrong's surviving for so long. Tempt flashing, but he was out of range. Malrong's just able to limp away. Bono's still trying to go in there as Grace ults himself, and they get so much damage. The culling over on top of Kia's Tempt can't get the damage down. And Malrong baited everyone, and they got a kill.
Absolutely. A gust of wind would have taken him down. Tempt is still around the outside, knows he hasn't been spotted, but they're losing turret planes.
Yeah, we were talking about how nimble the Gragas is for a larger gentleman, and my goodness, he just displayed that so well. Lots of damage there from Root. They do have to pay some respect here as out goes Sungyun and Ki, and Jinner have asserted their dominance.
I feel like Tempt is very frustrated being on the outer despite having all that mobility on the LeBlanc. Second time in recent memory we've seen the very questionable LeBlanc distort, but thankfully had the cleanse in order not to pay for it with his life.
Yeah, I had a few of those yesterday, most definitely. As Linderung finally gets the minion wave back towards his turret. No plates have been taken yet by So1, but it's been largely the wave on So1's side of the map. As we have a look at this one once again.
Good baiting here from the side of first Hanwha Life, as had the extra heal available there. But Malrong not living here. He was on maybe 20 HP at one point during this. Tempt, just a gust of wind, but Malrong smartly keeps himself on the bottom side towards the wall. And as he's healing up from his passive and popping his potion, he gets out. And if you were noticing there, you saw how much damage those frozen thralls were doing. Sandra passive, maybe a short-range comp, but when those first couple of items are done, you can burst them full.
Yeah, damn right, especially as Malrong gets more and more items. Of course, just needs the Runic Echoes, which he already has done, and some Sork Boots and an Oblivion Orb. And then he is absolutely ready to go.
And the 918 kind of patch reviews out, and you would assume that's probably going to be the patch for Worlds. So, given no Gragas nerfs there.
I was really surprised, actually. I think Gragas is extremely strong on this patch, but makes for some fun games.
It'll probably be Gragas jungles. Oh, hold the point.
Yeah, Malrong predatoring towards the bottom side. Don't know whether that's a verb.
Gragas jungle's strongest kind of relative balance spot since 2016, where you remember, should have been the meta jungler at Worlds 2016, but was bugged and had to be disabled for Worlds that year.
That's true.
So while he's been relevant since then, I think right now he's like S-tier jungle. And you know what? I enjoy watching Gragas, and he does have that trade-off in the early game, so must admit, I'm a fan.
Any excuse to think of score fondly is a good one for me.
And Cuz.
Well, Cuz especially this year, but of course historically been absolutely the score pickup. We're going to miss him here in the LCK, much like we're going to miss you.
Hey, hold the tears. It's only game number 1, baby. We could be going long.
You know what? It's actually hilarious, but I legitimately have something in my eye, so I can make that comment non-facetiously.
Just a good actor.
Yeah.
Paid actor, by the way.
Thank you. I'm a method actor. I have to put something in my eye if I'm going to make the call.
Is
right?
your method mediocre play-by-play?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, you've been nailing it for years now.
No, dude. I was thinking about updating to moderately decent, but I just don't think I'm ready.
I don't think you have the range for that.
No, I don't have it. I'm not exactly Robert Downey Jr. or anything like that. You can't expect me just to change like that. No Christian Bale.
I wonder what
you are. You're going to Christian Bale from the broadcast.
Well, I hope you get to Worlds and you're the machinist. You know, you're like you've been prepping for all those months away, and you're just the world's greatest caster.
All right.
And
thanks,
speaking of some great casting,
well, Linderung's going to cast some ultimate here as the ultimate comes out from Bono as well. Gets the knock up. Oh god, so much damage. Malrong lobs a cask over, and that is a dead crocodile on the top side. Bottom side, Jin still winning here as well, and they've taken control of this game. And we have to remember, this is Jin against an LCK team.
189 days since they beat the FLICKR Freaks in their only series win over an LCK team. Tempters around.
Bono's here as well. It is going to be a 50-50 on Shelly as in goes Linderung. Two really good Aatrox players here on both sides of the rift, but it is Linderung commanding this particular area as Bono bullied out of the way, and Shelly is going to be going over to Jinner uncontested in the end. And now they've got full control over every neutral objective on the map thus far. And it was just that one whoopsie on the bot side that
playing pretty well, Atlas.
Yeah, they are.
No surprise, early game Jinner. Let's wait for when the game seems like it's going to get trickier. See if they can keep it up. Current play is still up. You see the charge, and it goes to Root. All of them
not going to find the body slam as the distortion is going to use the back there. Is Eye going to be poked out of Shelly? And yeah, that's a lot of plates going over. And Grace, in the meantime, getting a lot of work done here in mid.
Jinner's picking up more gold around the map as Hanwha kind of toothlessly tried to defend.
Yeah, that was actually just a complete waste of time for two people on the top side of the map there from Hanwha. So outplayed completely in a macro sense from Jinner. And how often do we get to say that? That was the relish in my voice that you could hear from being able to say that they just outplayed, and it wasn't necessarily in those few moments that we had from Malrung in the regular season.
In the future, though, could you hold the relish and the onions? Not a big fan.
Really?
Yeah, I'm just not big into onions.
And relish.
I'm actually okay with relish, but it made the bit fun.
You know, my parents used to make, they probably still do, I haven't been home for a while.
Please confirm before you say it on stream. Go on.
Make homemade tomato relish. It's absolutely fantastic.
Wow.
Huge fan.
This was not such a fantastic move from Hanwha. It starts with So1 thinking that this is going to be a winning 2v2. So do they have the response to make the play? The answer was quickly no, because Bono's instantly out of it. The TP coming through from the side of Lissandra made it really straightforward.
Love the Poros there. I'm glad that we put down the sad Poro, and we've still got that big happy Poro there.
But a Jinner fan always has their sad Poro ready for later.
Oh, man. We need a Poro plan. Riot Games missing out.
I miss Teddy playing us also.
Oh,
people keep trying to use it for SKT games. I'm like, no, that's just not even the spirit of what this is.
I mean, when it was the beginning of summer and it was like the SKT Red Wings, that was when it was somewhat relevant.
You know what's really relevant? The difference in turret plays. It's all of them to none of them, basically.
Yeah.
And
all
a lot
of them
that
to
goes
one
to
of
Root also.
See whether Jinner can utilize it as we move to the mid game. Because yes, I think I may have got a little bit ahead of myself because Jinner have had many a good early game.
Like, then, what other team can provide the this is how they lose from here kind of detective game we get to play in Jinner games? So you just know they'll find a way.
And it's a genre that we like, those whodunit genres, you know, of movies. There's recently been a new one, but otherwise it's really underrepresented.
Let's not talk about whodunits. That's kind of like the 50s TV. Let's talk about Goosebumps, Choose Your Own Adventure.
Yes. And now it's all about like the Netflix Choose Your Own Adventure. I don't know. I mean, the Black Mirror one was kind of cool. Bandersnatch was cool, but I do want to just go back and read more Goosebumps.
Back in my day, we had less moving pictures and more words.
Yeah, and you had to move a lot of pages in order to get to the one that you were supposed to go to, and you had to be really careful not to read what was on the page that you were flicking through.
Well, I'm reading this page about a roam topside. Someone has the on-command CC, and to Linderung's credit, he actually read the situation pretty quickly.
Yeah, exactly. Flipped to the page quite promptly, Pubsmith. As Root in the mid lane by himself is going to get another wave towards the turret. 16.5 minutes, probably wanting to break open that outer relatively efficiently. But now, look, they had some issues with a team fight around an Ocean Drake. They've sorted it out. But as you can see on your screen right there, there were 5 wards, but there are another 3 off-screen that we couldn't see. So, lots of vision, and Jinner knew that this was safe.
Jinner, just in general, have a pretty nice grip on the map. One sneaky ward spotting around the Raptors from Hanwha, but otherwise, Jinner do actually control multiple portions of the map. The total gold is 3 members, comfortably about 6,000 on the side of Jinner. Meanwhile, only Renekton in a good matchup. been able to put together such a gold total. So 2,900 gold is, again, not a game-winning lead for Jin Air, but if you remember our analysis, it's get those 2 core items, and then you're actually pretty cherry-ripe to do a lot of cool stuff. Well, we're pretty much knocking on heaven's door when it comes to those items, and thus, Hanwha Life has to find a way to blanket the side of the map and make it about what they have, which is some very strong pick power and the Ezreal Siege.
But Malrang has all the items that he needs. Right now, actually, I think Zhonya's is probably going to be the next luxury choice that Malrang can grab, but Sorcerer's Shoes and Oblivion Orb, he does so much damage at this stage of the game. And we've already spoken about this composition from Jin Air. They're pretty happy as the game moves on and on, because they're up against, you know, the LeBlanc, not necessarily the greatest scaling, but so on the Renekton, of course, will fall off as this game goes on, especially in comparison to Linderung's team fighting on the full-powered 916 Aatrox.
Small difference there is that Ezreal Yuumi always have a good role against Jin Air's comp because of how much they outrange the effective range of Jin Air. So you throw in a Baron, and that's kind of a multiple turrets guarantee for the side of Jin Air. Their comp just pretty much sucks against Barons. So that's kind of the one area where scaling gets iffy, is how powerful Sanghyun and Ki can be. They're free to play aggressive, like Deft in some of his games this year.
I find it really interesting talking about Baron this game as well, though, because if Jin Air have any sort of inkling that Hanwha are on the Baron, as I'm going to hold my point for a moment, playback there onto Bono, has to flash. It's going to be the trade. Malrang holds on a bit fast. But what I was going to say is, if Jin Air ever find Hanwha in the Baron pit trying to take it, they have the most fantastic composition for locking down a team like that. I mean, getting Grace in there with the frozen thralls on the back of the pick potential that Jin Air have with this composition.
Cleanse
Pretty
Ezreal,
strong.
Cleanse LeBlanc. They are definitely a little bit more creative, but I take your point. Jin Air just using the amount of vision advantage they have. Hanwha Life, if we could toggle vision here, I definitely tell the observers to do so, because they just have to seed objectives like this and make pretty low percentage plays, like trying to slam a Lissandra with ult up.
Yep, that's what they're going to do, and it does basically nothing. Grace is going to miss the cannon creep. That's the punishment for that particular game. Malrang doesn't find the barrel there, but there was no way that they were killing Grace. Still had flash, still had the floor, which is absolutely fine. As, Grace was in fact in the lead in this matchup also, as we checked in on the gold last. Not something that we'd expect in the state of the game.
Definitely a flow-on effect of people starting to appreciate more and more that jungle mid is still a duo lane, much the same way that AD carry support is. So with the jungle being kind of in the toilet compared to the enemy jungle, flow-on effect here has been the block hasn't been as comfortable to just go for those QR traits that a Lissandra can't really respond to with the range discrepancy. Lissandra herself backs away. Zhonya's coming as second item. Wondered about the Codex, but Zhonya's the only one that made a lot of sense here. Not a Banshee Veil game you wouldn't imagine. I'm interested to see if Malrang goes for the double Morellonomicon here, because we already have one done from Grace.
Oh, I was like, I mean, one Morellonomicon would be bad enough, but
Well,
two on the one champion?
You see, Yuumi is really a lot of healing after all the changes there, and Renekton obviously has a small amount. Not secured there by Malrang.
No, but I like the attempt. As Root's going to have the lantern there for security. Barrel's going to find no one. Going to take it in the end to get out of the way of a Mystic shot. But Sanghyun and Ki are going to be able to tell Jin Air to leave, and Jin Air will listen this time.
A lot of Jin Air's vision has started to fall away, and this is where the game gets a bit more tricky. Can Jin Air, who have a lot of control wards in their inventory, re-establish the sort of vice control over vision they had before, because they need to be smart about where and when they push, how many members in base get that vision. And this is the sort of reset in game tempo, which by that we mean kind of who's in control of the game, that Jin Air have sometimes not been able to understand that it's not the same as it was 5 minutes ago.
Well, this has been their greatest flaw, right? Melon's going to go down, proving that point immediately. Tempt diving on over, looking for Grace, and now the first real Drake is going to show up. The Infernal. A lot of control here for Hanwha, as Malrang is still alive, but it's a 4v5 that they're going to have to fight to try and get towards this Drake. No ultimate for Bono. The Jin Air are going to back away and give this one up.
There it is, the first sign that the early game is over. The mid-game transition has truly undergone. And even though Kellen had flash up and they could have played that so differently, they kind of approached it lackadaisically. Like, Jin Air was playing like they were sitting in a control ward and that Hanwha Life were lambs to the slaughter. That is the game state right now, and that's the first mistake. There could still be more.
Grace was looking for that Ring of Frost, but Bono does make it over towards that Blast Cone. Gets himself to safety. Someone was hanging around in the area, but he bailed pretty quickly as well. So nothing going to come from it. Jin Air still with a slight gold advantage, but 1,000 of that has been pulled back by Hanwha, and now they have an Infernal Drake as we have a look at how it happened yet again.
Time Bono connects with the ult. No one else in the rest of Jin Air is actually providing any assistance. And flash up, no problem, dies. Jin Air have also slowly pushed in a wave and then predictably had it wave cleared among this turret that's been below half health for about 6 to 7 minutes now. The game is stalled. Jin Air need to actually get some pressure on the map, and probably the easiest person to do that is Linderong with how long the bot lane is at the moment, but he needs to show some risk in order to do it because he doesn't have the vision control he did before. Chooses instead to just pass a wave over to Renekton, and right now, Hanwha Life probably can delay the next relevant objective for multiple minutes.
Oh, the next Drake is going to be that Infernal, so another fight will probably ensue. But this is the problem, right? Jin Air, they've had so many games where the early game had looked about as good as this. This is probably going better than most. But always it just seems to fall out of their grasp. Linderong clears out that minion wave, but Sohan grabs himself the turret. That gold lead is getting ever smaller for Jin Air.
And you do wonder,
so strong. Like,
you do wonder how the coaching staff and even the players could never theory craft a way to escape from this like perennial hell. Like, it's very Groundhog Day, right?
Yeah.
The fact that we joke about it and it happens like actually 90% of the time should let you know that. How would you approach it? If you're the coach of Jin Air, you know, you tried the VOD review and said you should have done this, and it's just not working, right? Just the information assault's not working, the lecture's not working. What would be your kind of approach to trying to upskill a team that's good at some things but really bad at pushing forward?
Well, I mean, I've seen a lot of Mighty Ducks movies.
Yeah, we've seen sports movies, so which one do you kind of
I think we need the more unorthodox approach where you get in like that cool guys. The ultimate's going to go wide. Not going to get into the POG state just yet, so we can talk about which our favorite montage is,
we're in the
is
A-Ram
going to
state
be.
Right now.
Yeah, this is the K-Ram, and this is not where we really want to be.
Like, do you take the belt out? Do you like get the loving approach? Are we joking about it?
It needs to be the switch of mind state approach, right? So you need to find an example of something that does what you are struggling to do really well, but it's a little bit off kilter.
Okay,
that's what I feel is going to be the answer here. Is Bono going to get redemption? Which is what Kellen went for first.
Grace is in a smart spot here, threatening to try to get these last hits in. Only one minion, though. No worries. They finally get the turret, and you know what? There was threat of a dive. Yeah. The minion waves in the side lane weren't an issue. That was better from Jin Air.
Yep. Not entirely sure what the montage was that Jin Air went through, but this is possibly an example of it working.
Yeah, and I would have just done a scientific approach. I find that from sports movies I've learned that you just need to have a montage, so I just create a montage.
Oh, you just need the montage. All right. Well, I guess I nailed it. I just didn't need to talk about the exact kind of montage that we required. Oh, how many eggs do they eat in the morning? Sorry, do they drink in the morning?
Just the egg whites, typically.
Oh, really?
Yes, much healthier that way.
Oh, okay, okay. I mean, back in the Rocky days, you just you basically crack it into your mouth, don't you?
I almost went full dad joke. Talked about yolks.
Yolks.
Well, it sounds like joke. It's really funny. You get it? Yeah? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
I'll explain it more. It becomes way funnier the more you explain it.
Please do that. Please do that.
Well, seems like Linderong might have some splaining to do, but Bono's going to back away. They understand that Jin Air are also patrolling through the river.
Yep, I understand that the 100 Thieves comedy show is going to be absolutely amazing next year. Now, set up though. Okay, Prowling Projectile will find Kellen. Fantastic for checking these sort of brushes, but all 5 members of Jin Air hanging around 10 seconds on that Infernal Drake, which is exactly why we're here. And Grace is right in range of the claw.
So one has TP, but has gone on a long walk. He will be spotted soon.
Jinner on the clock. That's a minion wave that's going to run all of its money into the turret here. Who's going to start it is the question. Hanwha feeling frisky right now.
Flanking who? If Jinner take too long, they're going to have to deal with the minion wave pushing into mid lane turret.
Yeah. Someone is here, ready to move on over though, as you were talking about. Multiple different ways to get over there. As Jinner, they definitely want to fight for this. But Hanwha are ready. In goes the claw. They find Tempt, who distorts his way out. That means he can't distort his way back in again. As Bono finds a point-blank ultimate. The final chapter is read though, and he's in the bouncy castle. The pig is for breakfast, and the dragon goes to Malrong. Lindrang is chasing away Soan there as well as Root. Does go gold in exactly the right second. And the playback onto Key, who's trying to you and me over to Tempt as the culling flies forward. It is cancelled early as he dashes out of the way as Tempt does find Kellen in the end. Soan with the Dominus trying to catch up as Malrong finds the Ezreal and has the stopwatch to avoid any sort of punishment. And Jinner have smashed this team fight. Hanwha looking all sorts of mess.
A real bizarre team fight though, as there was a man fight between Soan and Linderung separated from the 4v4. The pick came in, and that's because Jinner, if they stay as a phalanx, you know, if they get the shields out and move slowly, how can you beat this team in a 4v4 with one Lissandra Frozen Throw comes in? The team fight win is assured. Hanwha Live couldn't poke as much as they wanted, but Malrung was on the outside of the fight for quite a long while, and so they actually couldn't get the cleanup kills they seem to think were on the menu.
Yeah, Bono the piggy in the middle. Have a look at this as he throws out the point-blank ult, and you're like, okay, I can see where this could be good.
But the moment that he goes in alone with 2 poke champions, like, there's no damage behind it, so he gets taken out. The awkward thing from a Jinner perspective is that Hanwha Live, you notice how they try to chase in further. Malrung uses his body slam, doesn't get over the wall, and he's the only person who can frontline. His health bar is the only healthy one. So he kind of awkwardly watching on the outside, trying to get in on the joke, but only at the end getting the snipe off.
Yeah, eventually finds it to try and redeem himself, but you're right, it could have been a little bit better there for Jinner had he made it over. But if at first you don't succeed, try again, and he did so. I respect that.
And remember, this is the battle to be the 10th team qualified for LCK Spring 2020. So we're definitely eyes open about the level of gameplay expected. And that's why, compared to kind of Dumb on Gaming, where if they play, you're like, yeah, absolutely. No initiation CC, just win lane, you'll work it out because you play the map smartly, or you're really good at playing around, say, a Nuggery or Showmaker hard carry. No. We want to see easy to execute. We want to see a lot of crowd control.
We want to see the fundamentals be executed better than these teams were able to show us in the regular season.
And paper over any gaps by drafting easy to execute is what we're looking for from these teams.
We want to see the results of the damn montage. That's what we want. Because that obviously happened after the season ended. There was a little bit of extra time here for both of these guys. And looks to have worked a little bit better for Jinner so far in this series.
And that's why we like their draft, because even though they had 2 losing solo lanes, if you kind of just run at each other, their comp is way easier to execute compared to Hanwha Live, who kind of have to get their poke on. This LeBlanc can't even play side lane because it doesn't have teleport. So the Baron buff obviously would be a death knell, I think, in both directions, but probably this game is going to be 2 teams scared to start Baron and a lot of farming.
Yeah, we may not even have a Baron go down. I think we might just have a team fight around the Baron and then a run down mid lane. That might be in the future here as we're heading towards 32 minutes.
So is it time to go to the past, Atlas? Because the future right now seems a bit, it's still forming slowly between these 2 teams.
It is, and I think, you know, you can go wherever you want at this stage. I think the lull state is certainly upon us. I'll let you know if the POG state does turn up.
I was looking through a lot of old photos, so Kenzie's, who's one of the photographers, at Kenzie131, I believe he is on Twitter. That's Kenzie, get you there, K-E-N-Z-I. Also the stuff I had on my Facebook and stuff from those early days, the heady days of 2015, 2016, before you even
I wasn't even here.
At the start of 2017. You were we had the running joke, Achilles and I, about our play-by-play caster who was on the way, but we did not name you until you were actually coming over. So
yeah, I remember as well, Achilles was very happy to no longer be Budget Doa. He had his own budget version.
It's his birthday today.
It is. Yeah.
Happy birthday to Achilles, 27 today. Still a young'un.
If you follow him on Twitter, that's why he tweeted just a tweet saying 27, the most low-effort birthday tweet I have ever seen in my life.
Suits Achilles.
Damn right. Apart from when he's talking about, okay, Plant comes out, Malrung is going to be safe as the backline access for Root. Not exactly the flanking champion you want. And Hanwha are going to destroy the Lucian. Hopefully he never does that again.
That was an unforced error. Again, to use the tennis analogy I'm partial to. He goes in with no flash and no front line. Now it's 5v4. Jin want to posture, but they don't want to fight.
Onto the Crocodile there as well. Flay lands back as fantastic knockups from Linderung is keeping them all in place. Bono has to go golden because of all the threat here from Jin, but now they're very low, and in goes Temp to finish off Kellen. Good stopwatches elsewhere, but the Ezreal's going to pay for it. Double kill comes out from Temp. It's messy, but it's working for Hanwha so far.
This is definitely a dish that has poor presentation, but it looks pretty tasty with all the kills we're seeing on both sides. Far too much engagement by Jin. Yes, they did a lot of damage, but they must know summoners are up. No one's going to die and allow the frozen thralls to come through. Root only now respawns.
I've seen this one before. There's low health bars. Of course, the down Drake also very low as the culling. Not going to steal it this time. Root trying to do his best deft impression, but failing to do it.
I think it fell to 6 HP there. The triple score in that particular one. They have the vision on Bono, so he's going to have to walk it out. Malrung can be a jerk here. He will.
Yep, some backs come in as we've got a couple of pings there from Hanwha, just assuming that Jin might head towards a Baron pit, but they're going to do so just to clear out vision.
Are we any closer knowing who will be more gooderer between these two teams?
I mean, is it a question of gooderer or is it a question of badderer? Yeah. I mean, my cup is generally pretty half full.
It's true.
So,
it's one of your best qualities.
I'm gonna say that it's all about who makes the greatest play.
You mean the gooderest play?
Yeah, the gooderest.
They ascend up Mount Gooderest.
Look at Root, just face checks his way to the death chamber. Amazing stuff.
That was pretty awful. But Jin then get themselves baited here. So wow, we did a lot of damage, and imagine if Lysandra passive went off.
Imagine if we had an 80 carry.
But they're playing this like they have 5 people there.
Yeah.
And Hanwha Life is playing this mindful that they have their summoners up and the enemy doesn't have 5 people there. Really nicely done by Temp. The distort was big, the mimic distort was even better. They trade up in this scenario.
I mean, at the start of that play, they had 3 people.
Yeah.
Malrung wasn't.
It was, you know,
yeah,
it was very Jin.
They certainly made some decisions, and whether they were good is still yet to be seen. And the gold lead is non-existent now. You can see that the gold dip is scrapped as ultimate comes down. Grace is trying to immediately remove it. Kellen dead again. A lot of threshers so far in this tournament have certainly had that problem as Linderung teleports in, flashes out, and has to use the ultimate as well as Jin Air look of all sorts right now. The slice, but you see, held on to.
You see how post-level 16 LeBlanc can actually be the hard carry of these engagements. She gets in, she pops, she gets out, and health bar is deleted. Speaking of deletion, the range here and the siege we talked about.
There's Mimic Distortion just softening up the Jin Air members, and Hanwha have control of the inner turret, and they're looking to push for more. 5 members barreling down, and I think that they've broken the base. They have. Inhibitor probably going to follow suit.
Kellen cannot afford to die first. He is the one that stops the LeBlanc from this playstyle. It's a Thresh hook, a Thresh play, or a Gragas E that usually will be the one to interrupt the LeBlanc. But when he's the first one dead, face checking for vision, guess what? Ezreal and LeBlanc are becoming a huge siege duo, and they're looking for more.
Yep, Spooky Ghosts come out. Linderung going to be slowed down for a moment. Malrung not going to, he's super quick on this Gragas. Sungyun's found a fair bit of damage there onto Grag, and he's got a limited supply of health with this squishy build. As in goes Grace, threw down McClaw, but they've engaged onto the Renekton. They probably will take him down. No! Gets out of there as the final chapter is read, but Hanwha Life unable to grab a kill just yet. Linderung wants to get in amongst it. Grace, the second, a re-engage from the Lysandra attempt. Now, this could be his killing field. Does land the chain. Linderung going to be the first one to go down. Malrung, it's his turn to engage it. As Root now almost in melee range once again. Hanwha playing this beautifully as Root will find the first one. Tempt with a couple of kills already, make that 3. But still, Bono over to the side. Tempt very, very low. Jeanette, oh god, Grace easily able to grab that kill. Tempt a bit of a whoopsie. Relentless pursuit onto this control ward. Bono in trouble, but he gets the permafrost and the cat grabs the kill. It's a messy fight, but it's one that goes over to Hanwha Life, and now they've got a jungler, and they've got their eyes on the big purple worm.
Someone was able to get in and get back. Now, Baron's speed here is actually not going to be the fastest. They would prefer Dominus here to actually use the Spear of Shojin. But for now, at least, it goes down slowly. Is anyone going to be in the general vicinity? Seems like only Grace.
Grace could theoretically get over here, but they will have vision to spot it, and the spooky ghosts as well. He's not going to want to claw over the side, so Baron is going to be 3-manned, and Grace is now just going to run into the enemy. Decent claw there, as the final chapter doesn't really get too much work done, as, oh, that's the bop and slap from Malrung. Throws out the cask, and yeah, into the death chamber for you as Papa Smithy is head in hands.
Why would they chase? Why? What is the best hope against Aftershock Lysandra when everyone had respawned 20 seconds ago?
We really should have tri-casted yesterday. You wouldn't have to ask that question. It's not about questions like that, Papa Smithy.
The Sea Hero kill heroes. So now they're going to lose the Elder for nothing.
I know, right? Isn't it just the best? It's just the best. They were the best of times. They were the worst of times. It was Hanwha Life versus Jinner, but Hanwha Life are at least going to be able to move over here. No smite available, as you can see, as the dragon is going to reset, move back to the pit. Redemption, a lot of healing actually available onto Jinner, but now Hanwha, they need to start some sort of fight. They can't wait for this dragon just to be secured. 10 times oh my god, he steals it! The Elder goes to Hanwha, but it's still a 4 versus 5, and they are going to back away. Jinner, they just delivered both of the big buffs to Hanwha, and will now try and tidy up their base.
I'm pretty sure a smite button was pressed, but it didn't go off. No cask to disengage them. Hanwha Life Esports, no jungler, no problem. Watch this
really
extended play again. We got Atlas, we got this is the actual skirmish beforehand, as So wanted his best impression of Malrung. Getting away on a sliver, he'll come back to teleport in, and you just see how, I believe it was Monty who coined LeBlanc as a hybrid assassin and poke champion post 16, because when that ult gets on a short cooldown, you can do so much, and if Tempt started this full health and had someone frontline, this could have been a pentakill for Tempt. Ends up being a triple before Root finally starts to take over.
Yeah, I mean, at that stage, I mean, you called it out, and I thought Root had an opportunity there to get some work done, but this was the miss.
So Smite might have been on cooldown. Let's wait and see. Sometimes the overlay is to control. What's the final health total here? Actually bursted from 800. It was 200, then changed it to death. So nicely done there, and it just seemed like Jin Air didn't communicate all of their cooldowns, because if they were going to look to turn, because they knew they had no smite, they should have done it 2,000 health earlier.
Well, I know what to say in the VOD review, and that is communicate smite cooldown. And look, I'm not necessarily an analyst, but that one feels like a gimme. Step over the side, trying to get CC'd, has that Banshee fail that we were talking about earlier, already completed, and with 2 inhibitors down, is Jin Air well and truly on the ropes.
Got some breathing room though if you look where the minions are. They're not actually taking any Nexus turret pressure. However, it's all in or nothing. They don't have any range to speak of.
Yeah.
Turret goes down. Jin Air have not even a roll of the dice. I got half a roll of the dice here, and they don't take it. They're going to have plenty of minion power to respect.
Well, Grace is going to dive in. Self-ults there. A lot of damage into the backline. Takes the lantern to get out, but not exactly any damage done just yet. First, Bono going to be taking a little bit, but Grace coming on over. We've got a decent redemption, but finally, the first kill of the fight. It's Grace going down, and Hanwha still able to push forward, and they've got super creeps now barreling forward as well. Inhibitor in the mid lane just being ignored as Nexus turrets are on the menu for Hanwha. Both of them destroyed. Now the Nexus is bare. Hanwha needing to start the fight. Kellen going to go down as an afterthought as Root is going to get the QSS off. Now Bono being chased down. Low health bars as now the Lucian wants to try and get something done, but he can't move forward too far. Otherwise that happens. And he's evaporated from the map. The Aatrox also, and now Hanwha are going to finish the game. Jin Air, such a good early game, but in the end, it's all Hanwha Life.
Hanwha Life Esports, they navigate past that 2-item phase where Jin Air was going to be so more robust, and sadly, the robust ability of abilities doesn't matter when you make those unforced errors in the mid-game that really cost Jin Air. And then by the time the Baron came down, which we knew was a death knell to either team, you could feel how LeBlanc kind of took over the game.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have been able to get to level 17 in such an even game when Jin Air was starting to lock it out around 13 minutes. But could it be any more of a love letter to 2019 Jin Air? Really good until you start stacking up those mistakes and just no ability to claw back from those mistakes.
Yeah, I think it's not the ode that you want to be singing, though. Of course, this is the tune that we're used to, but Jin Air, they just do it too often, right? And this is another example of there being some whoopsies from Malrung. Missing that smite on the Elder Drake was the last real nail in the coffin. But he is probably the most tiltable player in the LCK at the moment. And game number one, that is not where you want to be sitting with this jungler in your roster.
And it's so awkward because we don't have the comms to know that he's in there flaming, right? But what you see on the outside is great performance until falling off a cliff. And it happens literally every time he plays.
Absolutely every time.
So there's something going on there, that's for sure. But someone could kind of maximize the former and minimize the latter. He'd be one of our better junglers in Korea.
Damn right. I mean, if League of Legends only lasted for the first 10-15 minutes, he probably would be well up there
of
in the
our
top
early
5.
game junglers, he's easily top 5.
Absolutely.
And, well, someone has to be happy.
Yep, Sangyun's parents there in the audience.
Gotta say, Sangyun's dad, whether it was the OGN Stadium, Spo TV,
Yeah.
Lal Park, always there. Credit to both of the family for coming in as often as they do, and they know it's an important match. This is relegation's final match, final Korean League of Legends series of 2019, and looking at the numbers, having range pretty good.
The Jin Air Valley, we may not see it too many more times, but this is what a gold graph of a Jin Air game looks like, ladies and gentlemen. Almost every single time.
Yep, and it's always around the time that when the turret plates go down, so do Jin Air. So
yeah,
they understood the 2019 meta. Turret plates, aggression, get them. Nailed it. Unfortunately, missed the rest of the book. So you need to get past page 2.
Yeah, the problem is that they're trying to cross this really big ocean. There's just not fuel tanks that are big enough. So hopefully, Jin Air can go back, put in some bigger fuel tanks.
Short haul airline.
Well, this is the problem.
And they're doing very well in the short hops.
Yeah. And they've got to really... They're sponsored by Korean Air. Just borrow a jumbo. Dang it.
Yeah.
That's, yeah. Thankfully, they've got really easy access to life insurance, guys, because it's on the other side of the rift. And we also have pretty easy access to a break. So we are going to go to one of those, and then we'll come back and see whether Jin Air have installed the fuel tanks or whether they're signing contracts. See you after the break.
갈게 이거 갖고 오고.
간다.
일단부터 앞에 거부터 봐. 이겼어.
아.
한타 이겼어.
빠지면서.
맞으면서 해봐. 이겼어.
루시안 피 많이 빠졌어.
오케이, 나 명건 좀 붙을게.
나 준비하자 이번에.
나 이거 상현이 형 앞으로 가돼.
들어가서 플래시 조심.
네.
앞으로 없나? 있는지 없는지 모르겠네.
야, 루시안 풀 아직 없어.
타워만 이거. 끝난 거 같아 이거.
천천히.
천천히
들어가지 말고.
들어올 거야. 들어온다. 한 빠질게.
루시안. 빼.
들어올 거야. 천천히. 우리가
루시안. 뽑기 나이스 끝났다.
나이스. 어째 끝났어.
나이스.
뭐 너무 빡세다. 이거.
아니, 후반에 빡세서 그래,
아니야.
후반에.
이거
이거
처음에만 힘들지. 그러니까 다이브만 안 당하면
네.
결국 우리가 이기긴 해.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the 2020 Spring Promotion Tournament. I'm here with Papa Smithy for game number 2 between gen.g Greenwings and Hanwha Life Esports. And if there is ever a game that can encapsulate all that gen.g has been this year, it is that one.
Sadly, translating the early game that I know Koreans have dubbed kind of Griffin-esque early game, which to complement this case, into it's fallen off a cliff, unforced errors. And I think that's a term that I use most with gen.g, but we kind of creep into a lot of games where it isn't the pressure that actually makes them make mistakes. It's just this phase in the game where the moment that the vision line is no longer the one they laid when they were winning, when the first reset happens, they're lost. They don't know how to recreate or create a new game state where they own an area and the enemy has to come to them. That is where they trip up again and again and again. And it's a 12-month problem, not a 12-week problem.
Yeah. We were talking about the montage. Well, the montage just did not work. So let's see whether gen.g can fix it here in game number 2. We haven't had a lot of side swapping so far. We had teams on the same sides all day yesterday, and it's happened again here. So Hanwha electing to stay on the blue side for game number 2.
So gen.g came from the winners bracket, so they would have side selection in game 1 and 3 and 5. They chose red in game number 1, and like you mentioned, this time Hanwha Life Esports in games 2 and 4 have selection. They chose blue. Does that mean that a whole lot of not much changes? Because Hanwha Life definitely had some issues in game number 1, but overall, when the game kind of went to their side, it did end pretty soon afterwards. So even though it was a scrappy battle, Hanwha Life did not look vulnerable after gen.g made their first mistake. And if you keep drafting like that, you would think 3 out of 5 times gen.g will make a similar mistake.
Well, I like that gen.g didn't ban the Yuumi first up, but I think that is going to be on the cards for them on the red side here, not wanting to let that one sneak through, especially with the Volley Bear being banned away here, which is sort of illustrating to us that Hanwha do want to head towards the Yuumi side of things.
They tried to first round the Lucian, but that didn't necessarily achieve what it set out to achieve, I feel like, overall. You know, they wanted to deny the strongest possible duo lane, and you know, at the end of the day, they actually had some pretty decent wins around the bot side as things went on, but I don't think that was really Lucian related, and then Root, of course, made a pretty big positioning error on Lucian that began the downfall of gen.g. Well, see the Gragas ban here, so Silas first pick is looming.
Potentially, they want to take that one away. Silas has been doing some winning and some losing so far.
So it could be a trade of 80 carries if Xayah is left open this time as well. So Xayah, Kai'Sa, Ezreal, these champions are all going to be considered. Seems like we have to be angling for the Yuumi though.
Yeah, I was expecting that one to be the final ban here from gen.g, and thankfully they do take it away.
So will it be Silas' first pick on the side of Hanwha Life? The champion is open.
Considering Jace at the moment, but Aatrox also up and available. So1 has been fantastic on it.
It'd be pretty super random to just lock Jace after ignoring Jace.
And locking something that isn't Elise or Renekton as well is dangerous.
Agreed.
So the Elise will be locked away.
And now you can kind of map your whole draft from first pick Elise to enemy having to take Renekton to so forth and so forth, right?
Yeah.
So you do assume Renekton X is going to be taken on the red side by gen.g, so Renekton 80 carry.
Renekton Xayah could happen
Absolutely. Could be Renekton Xayah, could be Renekton Ezreal, knowing Root, but I think the Xayah is probably the highest tier list champion, so probably the one you would want to remove.
Yep, and the Renekton's going to be locked away just so that Linderung doesn't need to waste a swap. Throwing that Xayah down towards the bottom side, and I expect that the Xayah should be taken here, but certainly some other options that Malrung could look towards.
To be clear, duos of champions have been pretty popular on and off during the course of 2019. I don't mean laning duos like Xayah Rakan, but things like Elise Renekton. You know, duos that do something. Sejuani Aurelia, Sejuani Camille at the start of the year. And that's where Elise Renekton, our idea is. Renekton has an on-demand W stun. Elise comes in, hits all her stuff, and you die. It's pretty much how it goes during the laning phase. So to relieve pressure, you have to take the Renekton, but Hanwha Life already know that. Definitely no surprises for Hanwha Life ever since they first picked Elise.
Yep. And I think the Tahm-Kench Sona was another one that was earlier on in the year, very popular.
Oh, I'd love to see a Swain. Swain bot lane, been very popular in challengers and in solo queue.
Yep. And Swain with the rebuff to his Q, I think is very strong at the moment, but not going to be picked up here as the Thresh is there.
And you know what Korea thinks is really strong? Xayah Thresh has been a pretty big lane to get the most out of everything. If you're not a Draven player, then you will go to Xayah Thresh as the strongest possible duo lane, so Thresh going to be taken and trying to force out a support pick, but they're not going to get one. It's going to be Jin Air taking the Taliyah, seeing it jungle from Cacao to great effect. We saw plenty
Bono
of
as well doing it,
Yukal playing it in the playoffs, and it's an old Grace pick as well.
I'll see whether it is Grace that's going to be piloting it or whether Malrung is going to try his hand.
Well, if you see a LeBlanc Syndra ban, then it's going to be mid lane.
Yep, that's true. Kalista, though, going to be the first one taken off the board to deny the classic Kalista Thresh lane. See whether Lucian is actually banned next.
Way you can avoid, well, you probably just blind the LeBlanc even if you don't see a jungler taken in the next round, so just kind of thinking about how you can try to play red side last pick to actually keep the air of doubt.
Well, Rakan didn't have very much doubt when it came to the ban list. That's going to be taken off the board there to deny the Lovers duo.
I wonder what the second ban is. Will it be a Morgana ban? A lot of teams around the world will go Morgana ban here. Could also be a Braum ban. It's kind of a different flavor of answer to someone like the Thresh. And you know what? It's Korea's. Tom Kench is always somewhere around.
Blitzcrank going to be taken away.
Heads
Shout
up
out to
ban.
what Key was playing yesterday.
Don't hate this at all. I think Blitzcrank is more than a sometimes food recently. After the latest buff, he's actually pretty good in a lot of scenarios, but of course can also be answered. He's a much more risky choice than Thresh, for example. In the laning phase,
we saw Blitzcrank versus Thresh, in fact, yesterday. And speaking of hook champions, here's the third one.
Theoretically has the hooking answer into the Thresh as well, as we established 1 year ago.
God, welcome back to Korea, everyone.
But Thomas is here.
And sorry, no disrespect to Thomas, but...
Now, Songyun's not really a Draven player.
No, but the Draven Thresh has been a very strong lane, and Songyun's got pretty deep pockets, and you can see big grin on his face.
Could also Ashe, though, in this spot, if he wanted to.
Or Jinx. That's been his flavor of the month so far. Played it a couple of times yesterday against Team Dynamics.
And the LeBlanc here is very obvious. You have to take LeBlanc because it beats Taliyah, and it also has a really strong range, and he has Zion. Makes perfect sense. Anything other than Taliyah would have been an incorrect draft. I think Syndra would have been a riskier choice than Taliyah, than LeBlanc, so takes the LeBlanc, smartly done by Hanwha Life. Like the blue side draft here from them a lot, actually. The Jinx has its risk, but if you look at Jin Air's team, you say, okay, not a lot of backline access for the champions that Jin Air have drafted.
Yeah, it looks pretty comfortable as Grace is going to go back to the Lissandra in the mid lane. Had a feeling that Malrung would be piloting the Taliyah, given the fact that the LeBlanc was locked in. It's a different look here for Jin Air, as the bottom lane's certainly not going to be as powerful, but I guess Hanwha is scaling down there as well. Just have to see how the switched up top lane is going to go.
Shout out to the Papa We Love You sign from the Global Family audience who came around earlier. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I like the game here. To me, it's a swinging game based on jungler, because there are definitely wins and losses. You know, Renekton greater than Aatrox, LeBlanc in the very early game greater than Lissandra, but Lissandra gets safer and safer. She gets to level 9 and can wave clear on command. There's kind of trades, but then there's two very high power ganking junglers, both of them AP. The Elise usually more reliable. The Taliyah, turns out, can do a budget Elise Renekton.
Yeah.
Because W leads to a pretty predictable seismic shove, after all. So it's going to be very interesting to see how the junglers can maneuver, because there's a lot of gank assists kind of all over the place.
And I'm glad that you brought up the fact that the junglers, based on the champions, are going to certainly be very pivotal, but we know that both of these teams rely on their junglers in the early game more than most as well. So serving double duty there for that particular point. See how Thomas goes with his adorable top hat on the bottom side of the map. The Xayah Farouk will give him a little bit more of an ability to, I guess, get out of sticky situations that he was certainly putting himself in last game.
Do you have LS's a way to message him? Can you ask him why his hat is so small?
I've spoken to him about it, but LS didn't actually really give me a clear answer.
Fashion or function? Choose one.
I think it was fashion.
Okay.
Yeah, he just doesn't want to distract people too much. And speaking of distracting, let's get into game 2. That's the kind of desperation that you want out of the man leading the chant for Greenwings. Because I
To
feel,
be fair,
yeah, be fair. Go
he's
on.
gone through a lot.
Yeah,
To ascend to fan cheerleader of a team, probably been around for a long time, but there is definitely some sort of agreement going on there. And that's a lot of Jin Air, so it's a lot of losing.
Yeah. It'd be like being the KT fan starter as well, the chant starter.
There'd just be a lot of
미니언들이
sadness.
Just a lot of sadness, yeah.
But a lot of winning before the sadness on the KT side.
Yeah, the KT side was more, like, it is more undulating, you know, much like a roller coaster. Jin Air, though, it is it's a flight towards the ground. And this might be the final crash.
The reason why I'm kind of really into Hanwha Live's draft here is you notice that Jinx has gone a win more summoner. Late in phase of Grace will get some pathing information from Malrung. Big win. We already talked about how this is a very swingy jungle matchup. Now, if you go lethal tempo Jinx, you know, that's not fleet footwork, that's not a defensive choice, that's more damage mid to late especially, right? Like, you're gonna get real excited, even your rocket attack speed is gonna be high. The reason why you can go this in this game is against Tahm Kench supports, not the most lane presence. As we mentioned, the enemy team doesn't have a lot of backline threat onto you. Like, it's actually pretty easy for Thresh to peel away Alessandro, and Renekton's not realistically going to run past everybody in a team fight and get to the Jinx. So Jinx actually does have the latitude to really pop off in a game like this and has one reposition already with the Lantern. So I think this is actually a good game to go into this sort of a summoner and this sort of a Jinx pick. And we already mentioned how from the first pick at least, they probably predicted Jin Air kind of pick the pick.
And also, Hanwha going to continue to be pretty confident moving past the mid game as well. So
this game
pointing to them feeling pretty good about themselves.
This game could not be a worse game to face check anybody on either side. Look at how much pick CC there is on both teams.
And did you see how much face check there was as well? So
yeah, even by root.
We could be into some pretty explosive stuff. It could be the Pog state.
Do you reckon Jin Air knows about Schrodinger's box?
I don't know. Might know about the cat. They've had to, you know, talk about whether or not they can let them in their cabin.
Wow. Talia was being shadowed by Elise. Elise now moved away.
Yeah, Malrung's going to be the one to check, as face check number 1 does come in, but there was no spider lurking in the brush, and instead Malrung is going to find him. Grace, fair bit of damage as the chains do land, and no aftershock anymore, and that's going to spell the first blood, but also happens on the top side. Pretty sure that was Jin Air that grabbed it first. I had a bit of confusion when it came to which nameplate was the one that came up first, but basically at the same time for both of these squads, and Hanwha are the team with the slight gold advantage. Pretty sure it was those that picked it up.
The Hanwha one faded away before the Jin Air one. That's how you know that they got the first kill there. That was actually well done by Bono. He flashed, I believe, over a minion, or the minion died just as he flashed in to get the point-blank cocoon and get the kill even through Aftershock from Grace, who did proc it. Let's watch the replay here. Watch the minion. He was trying to juke into a minion, right?
Yeah.
Damn. He actually flashed, drew aggro from the minion that was trying to walk past him, and that was the reason that it took a longer path so he could hit the cocoon. There was definitely some fortune there, but it was also pretty damn pog.
It was like he actually body blocked the minion.
Yeah.
That was really cool. As Bono going to make his way up, and this is a sad crocodile. Have you seen a sad crocodile before? Well, you do now. He's now in the death chamber, put out of his misery. Gank was all too easy. And Tempt coming on over, and we've got junglers mirroring paths based on where things went wrong last time. And it worked out for Bono, and nothing happened for Malrung.
I mean, Bono could even afford to do a party, I guess we call it in this case a party cocoon. Not the usual thing you'd have at a party. Yeah. The kill was assured on the top side, as you can tell. Everyone understood that. Grace has the harder job of trying to have to hit a W onto the LeBlanc to actually provoke Talia coming in, and there's of course cleanse available on him. So the setup pre-6, a lot more tricky, and the cleanse, another thing to deny the potential for Malrung to get a lot of inroads mid.
Yep, Skinner actually doing a decent job bottom side, as you can see. As the play comes back onto the Tahm Kench. Root still going very aggressive onto Sangi, though. As immediately the cleanse comes down, Cocoon lands onto Kellen, but after the cleanse, not going to be CC'd for too long.
Nice Captain Jack cleanse from Kellen. Previous 80 carry of the gen.g Greenwings was Captain Jack, but of course more famous for his time on Azubu. MIG, early days of CJ.
Yeah, of course, going to be saying goodbye to him as well after
He's
his
already gone.
military service. Yeah,
He's already in the military service. I'm sure there will be other people moving in that direction. Bengi already over there. But does mean that in kind of like a year and a half, 2 years' time, there's going to be another crop of potentially casters and analysts coming back.
yeah, that's true.
And so you
All
walk up
players
here
like
and
Joker.
Linderang already is completely boned.
And Bono missed the Cocoon, but who cares? So how are we feeling about that one as we go back to the mid lane? Tempt lands the chains, the claw comes out, but down to 100 health, and Grace will probably have to go home. No teleport available as Marung comes in towards the top side. This is a repeatable gank, but Bono is in position. So1 has flash to try and outplay.
Bono, to his credit, coming back on the top side. The trades like you see in the mid lane are why I post Lissandra nurse, and even before was never a huge fan of Lissandra into LeBlanc, because I got the theory of, well, how can you kill her? She can self-hold. But if you play around Aftershock, Lissandra just gets owned by the damage trade, right? And has very little ability to fight back. Doesn't have kind of the same damage ranges or mobility in order to make those plays. So I feel like it's kind of stemming the bleeding, but it's not a real bandage. You know, it's some paper you picked up off the ground. It does a job, but doesn't do the full job.
The makeshift
Option.
This isn't on the bottom side. Jin is still playing pretty well, although Sangyu does have the wave pushed forward and a slight CS advantage due to that.
I mean, going CS for CS is pretty happy for a Jinx, right? Most lanes. Not like Xayah doesn't scale. Xayah's scaling is really strong, but at the end of the day, the Thresh gives the Jinx the lane presence, and the Thresh doesn't. The Tahm Kench doesn't have that same lane presence when it comes to just ability to kind of crash waves, so happy times for him.
Marung's level 6. He's thinking about walling as So1 is going to be baited into Umbral dashing forward, but he may have waited too long. No, Dominance comes out. It will keep Linderang alive, but immediately So1 World Ender and exit.
Linderang kind of has to flash W when Chile is in position to shove, so I think you have to be more proactive or not in position to use the wall in a scenario like that. Otherwise, the cooldowns, you know, the amount of time it takes to travel time as well is too much. Temp walks up, and it's all about the Aftershock procs when it comes to these trades.
Grace didn't have it there for a little while, but now waiting for the Ring of Frost to come back. Let's have it as Bono, he's going to solo out this Drake very comfortably. And a Mountain comes in first as there's the Devour from Kellen. Remember, didn't have to flash, only had to use the Cleanse, which is almost back off cooldown again. So, just Devoured, a lot of safety. Control ward in the enemy jungle here as Bono comes back around. The hook is going to land. Oh my goodness, it's bad news for Kellen. Doesn't have the cleanse. Really nicely timed. As Root does a lot of damage to Bono, but takes a lantern. He's going to be fine.
Damn, seconds away from the cleanse being available. Cleanse Flash wasn't 100% certainty of living, but pretty damn high with Xayah there to potentially put into pain.
Oh, over comes Tempt. And Bono is going to secure the blue buff.
And look, we feel like we've gotten an identity for Marung as the worst best jungler, the best worst jungler. Is Hanwha Life even more becoming the worst best team and the best worst team? Because when it falls into place for them, they do a lot right. We like the draft here. We like the gank timing into contesting a blue buff. Like, they beat great teams at the end of the summer season as well. How can Hanwha Life be so good and yet so poor is kind of an interesting duality to consider.
Well, we're going to have a look at this replay, and I have an analogy for you, Papa Smithy. I feel like both of these teams are the plate spinners of the LCK. It goes right if you got those plates spinning, but as soon as they fall down, they, I don't know, not very flexible, can't reach to the floor, can't collect those plates and put them back on the sticks.
I don't know if I would call all of Hanwha Life that identity, but I definitely picking up what you're putting out. Like, I think Sangyun can really do good things in the late game, even if the team's behind. I think Bono is that kind of jungler that needs to be ahead, kind of like Marung. So I definitely see some areas where that's true, but I guess when you do as much losing as these teams have been doing, it does kind of remove your resilience, right? Because when you get used to losing, you're not fighting tooth and nail as much. Just a natural phenomena of psychology.
And you also kind of forget what winning feels like.
Or you never learn how to, which has sadly been a Jin.Air
2019
reality.
problem, yeah.
I mean, 2018, their only way was to have 6 items on page. So
Yeah. Hey, and it worked.
sometimes, not that often.
Even if it lasted 90 minutes, you know, it still worked.
In 2017, like, we forget they were actually pretty good in 2017. Like, they were not bad that first year with Teddy.
Damn, Temp diving in against 2 people. But yeah, you're right. I mean, Teddy was a large reason why that was the case, but I was daring to believe in Jin.Air.
No one could have known they would be this bad. Like, the roster came out, and I was like, wow.
I
For a
remember
team with not a lot of money,
discussing it. We were
you know,
like,
they don't
it's
have
the budget
they don't have
team.
the big
they're great.
salaries. I looked at their players, and I was like, this could have been way worse.
Yeah.
And yet, they went 1-35, which told you a lot about how other teams improved. And the team just never... They don't have an identity, do they? Apart from losing a lot. Like, that's really their only identity. I guess early game.
Yeah, early game.
That's more been a summer thing. Bono and Tempt, we know what this looks like.
This looks like a dead crocodile. This looks like we're turning him into a handbag, but it's not going to be the case as Weaver's wall comes down. He's not dead yet and clears the minion wave. Handbag's on hold. That order is yet to be processed. Another Captain Jack comes out from Kellen.
Good at cleanse.
Yeah, once again on cooldown though, which is a good time for Bono to pay a visit. He's going to spend some time with Shelly first.
He should consider buying a Mikhail. If he's as good as Mikhail's, he is a cleanse.
Yeah.
No stutter stepping required.
Well, Group is going to Featherstorm. Waiting for the Blade Caller there on Decay. Good lord, a lot of damage as Grace in position. Just decides to go for the Ring of Frost to guarantee it. He clawed over the wall, so that was on cooldown. As there's a Weaver's wall, Seismic Shove onto Tempt. Pulled back, and now Jin.Air, they finally answered the aggression from Hanwha elsewhere on the map. We're gonna have a Shelly being placed possibly on the top side from Bono, but this is going to be a lot of plates going down for Jin.Air.
Nicely played by Jin.Air. They were ahead of the play by a lot there. Amalrong had the fast roam down because of the rock surfing, so they got a lot done. And there was no way for Bono to make it bot side. Linderung didn't have to teleport. So far, just to trade up. We'll wait to see the Rift Herald to evaluate, but probably overall going to be slightly advantaged to even trade for Jin.Air.
Tempt is going to take a plate in the mid lane, so that's going to help them at least. But Grace wasn't really punished, was able to come back, even out the farm. Now has himself his Merc treads, he's feeling better.
I'm gonna watch the replay of this play, but the map is what I want you to see. LeBlanc was on a recall going back to mid, and Lasange is already halfway there. It's obviously a big win to get a stopwatch for an ult, and Talia is in range earlier, so investing the teleport, they get no kills, so one has a cooldown down that the Renekton can profit off. We already talked about how one CC comes in, the rest of them follow up very straightforwardly, so it is still a win for Jin.Air, and if you notice, no use of the Rift Herald to get 320 gold for free.
Yep. And those plays, of course, have
Oh, is Linderung going to go in?
Oh, the flash! Linderung gets the slice, gets the dice. No flash available, but does have the dominance for the extra health. He's still going to get cocooned and body slammed, but Shelly's not going to be there to help out. First turret will go to Jin.Air.
So they need to make sure they use the tempo they gained from no Shelly to actually get a couple of things. They get the bot lane turret, they get the Drake. The Drake is the bonus objective here. Hanwha will still get the turret. All it is slower, and they did give up a kill to get it.
Yep, 12 seconds on Linderung. He does have teleport, but as you can see, minion line congering in towards this outer turret top lane.
This
sort
sort
of
of
make a death rocket to go towards the base.
And to be clear, Atlas, this sort of a move is only worth it if you get enough, because you give up a kill. If you lose red buff, if you don't get forward vision for a future objective, I would actually say it was not worth it.
See whether that forward vision is there, but Hanwha still do have some defensive vision around their own red side, so Hanwha still will have that slight gold advantage, let alone, despite not having the first turret flood.
Like, at the end of the day, the way I think about a move like that is I actually compare it to TFT, which I know is a tricky subject. I know people love their TFT jokes, but just because you can get a synergy doesn't mean it's the right thing to do for your comp. Like, he could interrupt the Rift Herald, definitely.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, I can do this. So he did it, right? He flashed over, he used his flash. He was likely to die, and did interrupting the Rift Herald at the cost of 300 plus gold, plus also the fact the turret was going to go down, and his flash. Was it worth it just because he could do it? The answer, given they didn't get offensive vision, is probably no. So maybe stick with what you have.
Yeah. Well, now Gen are going to move their bottom lane towards mid. Certainly not out of it just yet. And we're under 1,000 gold as the lead. But the problem that I have, and the reason why I have some trepidation when it comes to Gen is that they haven't had the pop-off early game. They haven't had Malrung running around the map, killing a whole bunch of people. And it feels like if Gen don't have a huge lead by this stage, they don't know what to do anyway. Even if they do have that lead, what do they do now that the game is even? Is a very difficult question for this squad. But if they can overcome it, then that is a good sign for the rest of this series.
Yeah, and in the meanwhile, you know, Jinx is high in CS now, but not really by any consequential amount. And if Jin Air pulls a Jin Air, which is making an unforced error face checking, Infinity Edge crit, you high roll one, and suddenly everyone's got problems. Speaking of problems.
Yep, a little bit early on the Ruthless Predator as Bono's going to take a hell of a lot of damage. The threat of Vol is really hurting here as Linderung, remember, no flash, avoids the knockup quite nicely there, as you could see. But Hanwha's still going to have some access to this turret. The Demolish Bot going to do a lot of work as Tempt loses that trade handily against Grace, who finally went back to the shop and gets a Morellonomicon.
Morellonomicon value here, largely going to be around the Aatrox, but no guarantee that Lissandra's hitting Aatrox. It's probably going to happen, right? They're going to dive in there into melee range. Someone's got to deal with the Aatrox, and they got a lot of anti-Aatrox tools on the side of Jin Air. Concerningly, though, given all of the play around top side, Linderung is in a CS deficit of a lot.
Yeah.
In a advantageous matchup.
It's
And
a big problem.
if he's not getting to Renekton, it's going to be a problem. If he's not getting, sorry, to Jinx, it's going to be a pretty big problem.
And backline access was already a question
Yeah.
for this reason. So, unfortunately, the story just goes from bad to worse for these guys. That being said, hasn't gone to worse just yet.
If you had to make one LCK story into a bedtime story for your child, what would it be? What would it be the story of?
It'd be the story of Score in 2018. That's
Really?
what it
You just backwards copyright date it into 2018 and pretend 2019 didn't happen?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what every
But wouldn't
good
you be
KT
preparing
fan
him
would
for
do.
the world more if you included the 2019 part?
Oh, debate comes in as Grace actually decides to ult onto Tempt. Not going to be able to stop anything, and the passive is going to allow him to escape. Instant cleanse there from Tempt keeps him alive.
Maybe it says too much about me as a papa, but I would include 2019 just to teach him some harsh realities.
Oh, okay, you'd go for
It
the...
started sad and it got so happy, yay!
But if
it ended
it's a
sad.
bedtime story, like that's going to be the nightmares that any KT fan has in 2019.
What can I say? I prepped my kid early.
Wow. Well, treat him me. I guess you learn more from mistakes, right? So there you go. Linderung chasing after So1, but a Lantern Ride will be easily enough, especially after the World Ender. Sangyun eats himself a Brambleback.
Bono.
Yeah, he does have the repel, remember, but that seismic shove was not where Malrung wanted it to be. Has himself a Spiderling, but that's only going to be a consolation prize. Tempt diving on in. He's looking to try and kill Root here, but he's not going to be able to. That turret shot, and Root is going to be able to get the kill credit. That's just an unforced error. Tempt doing his best Jin Air impression.
We knew we'd be seeing them this game, but it comes this time as maybe a second one.
Yeah, Linderung says, no, I will not be outdone. And he's going to put his face in it, but isn't going to die just yet. Okay, wall comes in. It's a short one. Jin Air will use it to take down this outer turret. Some signs of life, not with a gold lead yet, but we'll have some map control as that outer turret, very important for gathering that.
Well, Tempt tripped over and died. Linderung tripped on his shoelaces but lived, and overall Jin Air had more members. They do pick up that outer mid lane turret. Just around 20 minutes, so Baron just is spawning right now. Bono's starting it, okay.
You have to remember that humans have a higher center of gravity than a crocodile does. So if a crocodile trips, I mean, do you even see it? Think about a crocodile tripping.
What's the sound of one hand?
I don't know, if a tree falls in the forest, it doesn't make a sound.
We did say it fell. So. but I don't know about the sound, no.
Yeah. What does it look like? I don't know. I've never seen a crocodile fall over. I've seen attempt to fall over.
Didn't know Grace was there, and then obviously was very, very sad about that. I love the fact that you can't pop projectiles or auto attacks and things like that. I played in the good old days of FLICKR not having an ultimate, because if you guys don't know, back in 2010, flash pop projectiles, so FLICKR would ult you, and then you just flash in any direction, and his ult would never hit.
Yep. It was a bad time. And I remember when that changed, the amount of people just wasting flash was so satisfying.
It was glorious. Because there's nothing better than solo killing someone and having them flash late and still die.
Yep. I was a Tristana player well back in the day, and so my buster shots would always get flashed.
Oh, great.
And then you'd watch people flash, and then your buster shot shoot them into the death chamber from a million miles away. It was extraordinary.
Sadly, when you mention a displacement ult like that, I remember that you still can't Lee Sin kick someone through death. Their model doesn't fly, sadly.
Yeah, I know. We don't have any ragdoll physics in League of Legends, unfortunately. As Linderung getting turned into an attempt for one, as Malrung surfing on over. See whether he can actually find the seismic shove this time. The answer is no, but it doesn't matter. Makes him change direction. That's good news. Hanwha trying to get the Baron on the other side of the map. Jin one step ahead in the mid-game. What is this?
That seems to be happening, Atlas, after the earlier throw from Hanwha Live. They're trying to kind of mindlessly run at Baron. Just because they have a Mountain Drake and a Jinx doesn't necessarily mean that they can just start Baron whenever they want. I need a pick to make that happen. Right now, the picks seem a bit more toothless than in game number 1.
Yeah, working out nicely. Bono feeling the pressure. He's 4-0-0, but his team is losing around him, and it's unfortunately a problem that some Elises have had since she's sort of regained her throne here in the LCK as one of these champions that's pick or ban.
It's a champion that's pretty easy to navigate around, maybe even easier than Talia after the laning phase. I think the laning phase, at least, is very hard to deal with because of a turret diving ability.
Yeah.
But in the mid game, you know, she has to run around and Talia gets to ult around, so it's a bit different.
I think that the really interesting thing about Elise these days, though, is that you do well in the early game, and it's all about how well you translate that lead to your other lanes. And it was a problem that Dread had, where he'd do super well and was never really able to figure it out. Did some games here and there, but couldn't consistently make that one work.
Look, sometimes you get all the gold as Linderung is in melee and on a control.
Yeah, and he's looking for 2 champions as the Weaver's wall comes down. Malrung jumps off pretty early as
No one will pass.
yeah, Root and Kellen, they were on the wrong side of the wall.
That was a strange one because the control ward was there from Hanwha Live. Looking for the pick over the wall. No one going to face check in on Key, but given how the series has gone, we did think there could be one.
Yeah, I certainly held my breath a little bit there.
But in a game like this where you get all the gold on the Elise and the laning phase ends, none of his allied champions have a big enough lead to kind of just win solo because Elise gained their lane. That hasn't happened. So what you have to do is make the game about you. And as an Elise who only has pick power or turret diving power, what you need to do, what we wanted to see from Bono is set up the control wards around Baron, threaten it. He's tried the threatening part, but keep the control wards there, and then actually kill someone with the face check. In coordination with that, if you're playing topside, so one can't be walking down all the way to the enemy outer turret and fighting and dying. Because then it doesn't matter how strong Bono is. You've lost a member, you're not realistically going to start Baron, and the Elise ends up just kind of playing around and not actually getting anything as she slowly gets outscaled.
Yeah, and also Elise without initiative basically means nothing. And if you are down a member, then you definitely don't have initiative on them. Jin moving on over, Cocoon going to go wide. As even Volatile Spiderling takes a while to get anywhere, and Grace takes barely any damage. Zap from Sangin, this Jinx is still where Hanwha Life are trying to find their edge.
But their edge requires the enemy to come to them. They have very low initiation outside of face checks by the enemy team. Good pick CC, yes. Chase, you know, with a Malphite ult to follow in on, no. So Hurricane Jinx kind of wants them to control the Baron Pit as they're trying for the millionth time.
Yeah, well, they're on it. The 2-man is happening here.
They're
and
not
they're taking a lot of
likely
damage.
2-man, though, to be clear.
It's not likely to work either, as Bono's almost dead. So there's a reason why Jin wouldn't have expected it. It's because it didn't work.
A whoopsie.
Yeah, a little bit. And Mountain Drake is going to go over for free. Jinna, their third Drake of the game, powering up the potential Elder in 10 minutes' time.
When you see plays like that, which so obviously seem unlikely to work, you wonder if they played a game where they had 3 Mountain Drakes at 20 minutes?
Or like some extra kills.
Because there was definitely a time they tried that and it worked, right? And I'm wondering what the state of that game was to be trying it.
Well, it's not the same as the state of this game, because it didn't work. Race back towards the top side of the map, as they do still have that control ward. Baron Pit, Jinna pretty comfortable, and they've stretched this out to almost a 2,000 gold lead.
What's your bet on the fact that the champion sounds are so loud? Do you reckon Riot in the latest patch just reset the audio and no one updated it?
I don't know. I hope that there were people playing the Oktoberfest Gragas and they just wanted to hear a lot more of the music, because it's my favorite. It happened yesterday. Oh, God.
The burping happened a lot yesterday.
It certainly did, but it was worth it for that back animation music.
But sadly, Lissandra, you know, she has cooldown reduction in her build now, so
she's yelling a lot.
Yep.
Do you know there's a fantastic YouTube video of a Korean guy just trying to do his attempts at the Lissandra sounds that she makes? It's really silly, but amazing. Super high value. As Grace is going to throw out a few more of those sounds, and they're happy ones. Seismic shove, and the Spider has been crushed. And now Jinna thinking about moving over to the Baron. Of course, Rift Scuttler was taken by Hanwha. Attempt. He does have Cleanse and Flash and a Distort to head back to, but Jinna still not going to start this one.
He only has to respect the
there's the flanking teleport. Linderung's booking it towards Hanwha. There's the Weaver's Wall. Maron gets off very early as he takes it down, and Jinna move back towards the Baron Pit.
Attempted a deep teleport flank, but Hanwha Life had cooldowns available to vacate the premises. This also buys Bono enough time to respawn. To Jinna's credit, though, they didn't really have enough Baron damage to actually force it down, so smart to look for the turn, unable to actually find any staying power around there, as Sungyun reminds us how much damage the Jinx does. She's at 3 items. She's been free farmed.
Yep, the damage numbers that are on the character screen definitely looking pretty good for the Hanwha Life 80 carry, but on the other side, we do have the 3 items completed for the Zyra as well, as we check out a Spider being eliminated. No opportunity to even click the lantern.
Nope, just squished. But
now, Papa,
I'm listening.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
You go ahead.
But I do have a very important question. Because
I'm all about the important question.
This might be one of your last casts, right? I mean, it is.
It won't be my last one.
Well, like,
there'll be at least one more game.
Okay, that's true. That's true. At least one more game. But as far as today is concerned, there's one thing that I really want to know, because you are holding us all in suspense, and this was a long time ago.
Oh, no. I know what you're going to ask.
But he's back.
You're not ready for it.
He's back, Papa. I need to know. I need to try and carry the torch.
You don't need to know. You don't need to know, Atlas, because I will never tell you the Kongdu Monster secret.
Damn it!
He's not on Kongdu Monster anymore, so you don't need to know. It's not relevant anymore. He's on APK Prince now.
Then what was it?
The Kongdu Monster secret.
Tell me what the Kongdu Monster secret was.
I can't tell you. I cannot reveal it. It's a death oath. It's a death...
All right, if you tell me you have to kill me, like that sort of thing.
That's right.
And I guess there's a few people watching as well, so you have to kill all of them as well, and you don't exactly have to address it.
It's a Jinna game, so it's less people than usual, but it is still a lot of killing.
Well, this might be some killing, as we've got 5 versus 5 in the mid lane. The K-Ram is certainly upon us. This Root taken down to half. Vision there available. Hanwha is searching for it. Tank doesn't want any part of it at all. He's heading bottom lane to get a free turret. I like it, understanding that the K-Ram is not how these games are won. Playing around Sungyun looks to be an option here as Temp looking over at Malrang. Okay, pops himself back as the seismic shove is fantastic. Temp does click the lantern, but that means that LeBlanc is no longer available. Another Weaver's Wall comes down. Grace is going to jump over the other side of it as Bono's going to flash. Even the Brambleback is in amongst it, but the Angry Crocodile is the biggest problem for the Spider. Now they're looking to steal away this red as well. Linderung, can you actually dive on top of Sungyun? The answer's no, but Key's going to just be dead. And why not just kill the front line and everything around Sungyun so he can't even get in there to do his damage?
I'm sure Sungyun's saying that exact thing in comms, but ever since Malrang outplayed Jinna and made the right decisions, this should be Baron for them. Difficult to see how Hanwha Life can contest. Sungyun is out of mana like he was at a Baron fight yesterday.
Yeah, and Malrang instantly booked it to the Baron before any of that extra stuff happened. Temp now flying in. Super Mega Death Rod is going to do a bit of damage as Temp is on top of the Baron. He was taken by Grace. My God, that is cutting it fine. But Jin'er still take the Baron.
Well, that's lucky, but it is claimed after all by Grace. No steal coming through from Tempt. They've got the buff. They've made the better decisions. Here's the replay, and appreciate Malrang was the one with the information disadvantage, and he played this really well.
Oh yeah, catching him with the seismic shove. One of them had to land eventually, and that was exactly the one that he
Good
needed.
TP from Grace to get the flanking position here, and then obviously there's smoke everywhere. You know the fire has to be around. Linderung guarantees the kill. Second time Bono has been the first man going down. Unsure after the cursory poking why Hanwha Live didn't fully disengage.
Yeah, Linderung, big boy on this Crocodile as well. No Infernal Chain's going to keep him down. As now with the Baron circling the Jin'er members, we'll see whether they can build this lead into something insurmountable. That being said, is insurmountable a word that we're allowed to say about a lead Jin'er has in 2019?
I would say that Jin'er has proven to be thoroughly surmountable.
Yeah.
They have been surmounted on 35 out of 36 occasions.
I didn't really want to remember that, but it is absolutely a fact. So we'll see whether Hanwha can find any window that Jin'er will provide them. Is it a window seat today, or is it an aisle, is the question.
Think of the meme games.
I mean,
The overall meme loss from losing Jin'er would be
It'd be so sad.
significant.
We'll lose like an entire subreddit.
It's true. Jin'er Planes, reddit.com/r/Jin'er Planes. Not that much updated these days, but plenty of golden stuff there. We should probably tell the origin story of the Glad Plane if we have time. We will have time in this series.
We will certainly, if we have anything, it's time. And a high-level League of Legends. As Abyssal Voyage will bring Jin'er towards the top side. This is pretty clean, actually, as Soan has to umbrally dash inside the wall.
He was on the wall. That makes him really tall.
He was really tall. He was already gigantic with his Aatrox, you know? He's like one of them Pacific Rim robots that I still don't know the name of.
Max. Yeah. I got nothing.
Yeah, neither do I. Maybe we should instead be calling it the Evangelion.
I don't remember if you watched Pacific Rim with me.
I've seen it. I don't know whether I watched it with you. May not be able to talk about it here as Kellen does use the Devour. Repel has to be used here as well, as Soan has to move back into the team, but does avoid the damage there. Turret falling down in the mid lane. Inhibitor goes down top side, and Jin'er keep everyone alive. So far, so good.
Unable to actually enact a frontline and get those fights. We talked about their lack of initiation. But ever since Hanwha Live made unforced errors and lost map control, the comp is not coming together as we equated, because Jin'er just has what feels like an unassailable pressure lead. The tempo of this game is all Jin'er, and we're getting close to a moment where all Hanwha Live can do is strap on 3 control wards and say, please come and fight us on our terms. Otherwise, Jin'er is kind of holding all the cards here, Atlas.
You said unassailable, but I mean, much like being surmountable, I'm pretty sure they've been pretty saleable this year as well. So I think we have to be careful with our language for this series. Certainly, things looking good for Jin'er thus far. 6,000 gold, almost the lead. He's been distorting to put down control wards mostly this game, or to die to turrets. It's been not the same LeBlanc game.
And by the way, guys, this is the tribute to LS game. I hope that LS, the picture on the YouTube highlights of this game, it says 4 Morellonomicons completed.
Oh god, so many, it's rude. He was frontlining for a moment, but thankfully this time around, he's got a couple of different disengage options. It's not going to be enough, no. Tempt finds the back line. Linderung's still big, but there's no Sir Thomas. And Malrang has to go golden with 0 health. Pops out, gets dark and bladed to death. And now it's a Crocodile. It's a lady who makes too much noise. And they're against the world of Hanwha Live. And Linderung is put into his Guardian Angel and should be put down. Gray still trying to get in here. Does get the Circle of Frost, but instead he decides that it's an ace that he's donating as 4 members of Hanwha are bearing down on him. That hook didn't work as he flashes forward, gets the spider, self-ults, fair bit of damage, no mana on Songyun, but I don't think he really worries about it as Grace is buying a hell of a lot of time. Yeah, and the minions
The
are
Winions.
smacking these Nexus turrets. The one thing, the one variable that it's not a variable, it's a constant, is the minions. They will move down lanes and take down turrets.
Will they take this turret even with Hurricane Jinx? A little bit more aggro, they get
they
it. Wow, So Uneven popped the ult late to fear the minions. Turret already dead. Let's watch the replay. You were talking about Jin Air being thoroughly saleable. If you notice, the minimap tells the true story as Sandra was trying to split point an inhibitor, and the hard engage from a really nice flank teleport means for the first time, Jinx had a front line to pop off in.
Yeah, and Tempt managed to survive just barely at the very end. I think even Key's Lantern Shield was... Oh,
come on, Tempt.
My God, really?
That's how it happened. It was like that other time where someone died to minions. We've cast 2 games like that now.
Yeah, that was bad. Unrecoverable. As I believe it was, I don't even want to talk about it. That was not great. The errors have been largely unforced. But it was a good forced engage from Hanwha. Yeah.
That was BDD, was it?
Was it?
No, it wasn't BDD. It was more recent than BDD.
Yeah, I think it was in this tournament. I thought it was cover, but maybe not.
It was also Pro Belter in the LCS. I watched that.
Yeah.
Dying to minions. This one was a big upset
That was, yeah.
by good old Tempt. And let's see what it means for positioning, because now they have 2 inhibitors down. Might have to be a freebie Elder. 3 stacks. Obviously not the most meaningful Drakes, but you'll take him, because guess what? You take this for free, you run a Baron, and Hanwha Live have half a second to decide before Baron might be negated.
And what was the issue? The issue was Renekton was struggling with backline access. Well, now he's got 4 Cloud Drakes worth of movement speed, and feeling pretty good about that as well.
And an
So
enemy
that might
team
help.
highly motivated to come to him.
Yeah. Abyssal Voyage is going to get the Coin Emperor towards this mid lane, as Linderong is glowing, looking cool with the skin as well, as he's corkscrewing through the minions. Now we'll look for this Baron buff.
Tempt has a lot of power here. He's the only player with flash up. If he WRs and can chunk out or get his ult early, there's multiple teamfight states that Hanwha Live could win.
They still do need to be able to get towards this Baron pit unscathed.
The flash
Jin
is
Air have
up.
a lot of
To
catch
be
potential.
clear, you should watch this. Tempt, So1, and Tom Kench are the only people with flash up. Those are the cooldowns to track as we start to posture towards the game-winning fight.
Can Root keep himself in a good position is the question. He hasn't been able to so far this series. Very reliably. Linderung more than happy to tank these zaps, but Grace did need to eat some honey fruit to get himself back to a full health bar or thereabouts. Larung in the back of the pit at the moment, but remember he can wall into anything. He does have a blast cone now that he can take over.
Ideally, Jin Air would control one of the entrances and wall away the other and start Baron. They don't want to waste this Elder, but they've been really slow, Atlas. What you want is control wards over one entry, Weaver's wall over the other, and rush down the Baron. You got a empowered Mountain Drake and Elder Dragon buff to turn, but they're faffing around. They don't know how to win, and they don't have multiple inhibitors down to have the map do the work itself.
Exactly. That top lane inhibitor did respawn, and this mid lane one doesn't have too much longer as well, only a minute 15.
What do you think Coach's Han's emotional reaction to the lack of play here? I'm probably
I think he's got severe anxiety.
I would
right
do.
now.
I would be doing the fist desk situation. That would be my response.
Yes. Definitely clutching something. I think the corners of the desk is certainly an option here, as Super Mega Deathstroke is going to be tanked.
Now they still do
by
this
the
really
Catfish.
fast.
Yeah, Weave as well, just to try and block them, but doesn't really get too much work done, as Kellen is able to get that Captain Jack cleanse again as Root comes down and will be taken out. This is obliteration for Hanwha, and the Baron should be taken as well. This is the most Jin Air since the last Jin Air, and Hanwha now have a Baron buff to work with.
Oh no! They did it again! The wall was awful. They run at it with 15 seconds left, and they found a very creative way to lose the game.
Do you hear surprise?
The wall didn't even block off one
It did
entrance,
nothing.
which was really awful. Also, they turn off Baron at 2,500, at least rush it down. At that point, it was just a disaster.
Yeah.
It was a tragedy.
And Malrang could have flashed and got back. He had a control when he saw that it was. Oh God!
I think they could have played it better, Atlas.
I think there was certainly
Jin Air
some ways-
2019, I think they could have played it better.
Well, Super Mega Death Rocket. Kellen's gonna flash
just
to
gonna
save
lose now.
Malrang.
Game's
And
over.
yeah, no, it's over. Yeah.
Well, to
Hanwha-
their credit, Jin Air found a way to lose that game. It was hard. I couldn't see it, but they found it. And that's an
Do you
achievement
know what they
in and of
proved?
itself.
They proved themselves well and truly saleable and surmountable in one fell swoop.
And if you're surmounted and assailed, you lost, is the reality here.
Yeah.
Jin Air goes to the back. No doubt more tilted than they entered, probably pretty tilted to begin with, and Hanwha Live cannot believe their luck. They found the proverbial winning lotto ticket. It wasn't on the ground. Someone kindly saw that they'd won and decided to just pass it off. And they weren't being a good Samaritan. They just had trouble reading numbers. They were reading them upside down.
No, this is like someone found a wallet on the train, didn't know that it was actually their wallet, and gave it to somebody else.
But because they read the ID, but they read it upside down, and their name wasn't Swimler, it was Christopher Smith.
Oh,
Weird.
no. I wish his name was
I know. It's so memorable.
Yeah.
It's got so many syllables.
Did they go up to him and ask? It's like, hi, are you small? Is this your wallet? And they said, yes, it is. I am small. Well, we've gone off the deep end because so is Jin Air, and we like to follow them when things like this happen, because what else can you do? Absolute disaster for these guys. And Malrang,
They achieved a lot in losing this game. It was really hard, but they
Yeah.
did do it, so
they achieved the loss that that looked like they weren't going to be able to get.
Doa's in the chat, which is perfect. He came front row to see.
Oh,
Just a beautiful display.
this
the
is
finest
what
display of League of
happened
Legends.
to your LCK, Doa.
Shout out to you, Doa. 3 years ago, around this time, was his last broadcast alongside Monty. That was the Worlds Qualifier Final.
Yeah.
When KT Rolster got knocked out by Samsung Galaxy. Famously, Samsung had not beaten KT in a best-of-1 since the start of LCK, and then won that match and went to the final Worlds that year.
And then
We're all
became the
about-
kryptonite for KT.
Exactly. That started a very sad time for KT
It
Rolster.
certainly did.
Meanwhile, Jin Air, who've never been relegated, are now 3 match points down. And I might be leaving and taking Jin Air with me.
Apparently we're not allowed to have nice things. Papa comes, and when he goes, he takes all of the fun with him. The Jin Air have been fun, you know? And I'm not saying that Hanwha are not, but I just don't... I don't know what the LCK is without Papa Smithy, and I don't know what it is without Jin Air. I'm not ready to lose both at the same time.
Do they have any free agents? 100 Thieves. Huh?
I mean,
I could bring Jin Air with me, very literally.
I would say you could bring Root, but I don't know whether you want to give up Bang, you know?
You gotta laugh about some things, Atlas, otherwise you'd be crying a lot.
Exactly. We love to keep from crying. Let's see whether we can keep from crying again in game number 3. We'll see you after the break.
이거 리스한 레넥 안 보여. 잠깐만. 탱크부터 잘 끌었어. 형 뒤에. 잘 잡았어. 바로 좀 먹어봐.
아니야 싸움봐 끝났어 바로 필요 없어
미드. 탑으로 가자. 탑으로 가자. 탑.
미드 아니야? 탑이야?
미드 라이즈
미드 가자.
미드
바로 또 먹었다. 바로 이거 끝나 이거 무조건 끝나. 탈리아 노플이야. 탈리아 풀로 죽여 아트가.
됐어 누가 탄 거야 이거
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the 2020 Spring Promotion Tournament, where Jin.Air are proving themselves to be the most consistent team in LCK history.
I imagine the amount of head desk done by Coach Han there was very high.
I'm super tempted.
They could have done a lot of things better.
Yeah.
And yet, they were winning for a portion, of course. It was later than we were used to. They were late this time, but fashionably so.
Yeah.
They were looking dapper, as they had a lot of advantages. The enemy team had very little initiation. They had a Jinx, who should never have gotten into the fight, but she got a late invite by their bad Baron setup. And half a second later, game was over during those death timers, and suddenly, it's 3 match points to the end of an era. Jin.Air are as synonymous with Korean League of Legends as SKT are, and for some people for the right reasons, for other people for the wrong reasons, but their meme game from the global side, as we'll talk about the etymology of the sad plane and glad plane meme, a purely global fan meme rather than a lot of the Korean memes, comes from 5 years ago. 5 years later, this could be the day that we say goodbye to Jin.Air.
We'll see whether this is going to be the game, as once again, we've got Jin.Air on the red side. See whether anything crazy changes in this draft, but already the names have changed. Linderung is out, and Tana is now in. I don't know whether that's the sub I would have been making. Remember, this is a team that has a sub for every player, and I don't know whether Linderung was the problem, personally.
Well, we have to hope that with comms, they're going to have the full information here regarding everything. We'll wait to understand whether that was the right call. Hopefully it opens up some new champion pool options, but I'm with you. Sowan's form has been very strong recently.
Yeah. Lissandra is going to be a change-up ban. No Volibear to be taken off the board this time around from Hanwha.
But Hanwha Life actually get to remain on the blue side. So Jin.Air actually chose red side a second time.
Yeah, and they actually banned the Yuumi themselves because now that Lissandra has taken up Volibear's slot, not able to first pick it and not wanting to let it go over, not confident in Key. Jumping on the bear quite as readily as Kellen, as Xayah is going to be taken off the board here by Jin.Air.
So what does that mean for first pick is an interesting thing to consider. There's a lot of could-have, so you can thresh here.
I think Renekton or Elise, right, should come.
Yeah, I guess you can just Elise and roll it back and be happy enough with rolling back the top lane matchup, but Gragas makes it through, and they're saying, hey, if you want Elise Renekton, it's going to be available at the same time for the first time in a long while.
You could just grab the duo. I'd really like to see it. It is going to play into Malrung's playstyle as hopefully Tana can come in and actually rev up this Jin.Air engine.
And Grace can play a bit too.
Yeah, of course.
I would really like to see it selected, but for now at least, they're considering other options as Thomas Kench gets very high priority.
Yeah. It does.
Is Varus going to be picked here? Seems like he's going to take the Silas for the jungle matchup. So you're kind of honor bound to take your AD carry in this round, so I guess they don't care about Elise Renekton at all.
Nope. And look, Hanwha Life can easily do it themselves.
Oh yeah, and Key could play some support Gragas. I'm not sure if he's ever played support Gragas though. Key's played a lot of one-offs, but I don't remember support Gragas on that side.
I can
Well,
look
I actually-
into it, but it'll take a little while.
Don't worry, I have the Korean hacks that I'm going to have to pass on to one of you guys. very
Yeah, that'd be
shortly.
cool. Yeah, chuck me them Korean
The Inven
hacks.
one is way better. This is an eclectic duo.
All right, but it is going to be the
Renekton
Yasuo, yeah.
And Yasuo, and it's going to take their entire bot lane second round. Please ban Thresh to remove the Thresh Jinx for the upteenth time of being rolled out.
Yes, I think that would be a pretty good idea. As now, Grace understands exactly what he's going to be facing off against. Alawi. And Tana, he comes in, brings out the fire. The tentacles are now available. We'll see how the crocodile fares in that terrifying lane that Alawi can provide.
And that is a painful one for any melee champion. Renekton will feel it without significant jungle help, and Gragas not always the best at helping early. Kind of wants to go mid lane post 6 as well. So this could potentially be a pretty big issue for the side of Hanwha Life Esports. As we roll through the draft here, entire duo lane needs to be selected, and for now, banning away the laning counters like the Pike.
Yeah, Pike going to leave. See whether Rudy's going to pick away the Jinx or something like that. I mean, Sunken has been jumping on it. Any opportunity he can get. LeBlanc going to go.
My memory has not been faulty. He has played 351 games of LCK, and this is his 352nd and first game on support Gragas.
Wow. If he's going to play it.
If he's going to play it, so it does suggest that perhaps he will not be playing it.
Yeah. Still an opportunity, though. I mean, the wool could well and truly be pulled over the eyes of the Jin Air Greenwings with this one. Rakan, not going to be picked up here by Key.
Secondary ban here. Probably going to be a mid laner to relieve pressure off of one of the melee champions, but most likely the Yasuo. Instead, going to go to Comfort for Root and ban away the Ezreal. Was trying to do a deft impression and play very aggressively on Ezreal when he had been playing this duo lane multiple times recently. Varus is usually his fallback, but Varus' priority in Korea has been kind of surprisingly down in the past 2 weeks or so.
We did have a pentakill on it yesterday.
Still, overall, it hasn't been as
Yeah,
contested
no,
recently.
I agree.
He's gonna hold
Aatrox
to
falls
last
up,
pick.
yeah, after the second round. That's crazy.
Has to be a counter pick AD carry coming here. And he already has a lane that will draw pressure in top in the Alawi versus whichever melee matchup. So what do you think of the Root if he's getting risky? I kind of think of Vayne. He does like Vayne more than a lot of other AD carries. Has played a bit of Draven in the past as well. Teddy would often play it in spots like this. Now, you can go a lot of different ways. The enemy team has Gragas, though, so Copmore, for example, is a bit risky, and Elise would be that pivot,
choice.
but it's not usually the modus operandum of Key,
Yeah.
so they're going to move away from that.
God, it would have been a fun draft, though.
There's a lot of different AD carries. Now, Jinx is actually decent. Kog'Maw and Jinx can be played against Kai'Sa. Kai'Sa opens up a lot. I'd probably prefer the Vayne, but even Vayne can get caught in the crossfire. How risky we get?
I'd
is
like the
question.
Draven. I mean, this is a lane that can be punished in the early game.
I think it's going to be Vayne.
Yeah, Vayne would make some sense as far as Root is concerned.
I think this is a harder game to play Vayne than some of the other ones, though. Varus, tier list. Jinx makes a lot of sense, as I was alluding to, but isn't as much of a Root champion. How risky we're going?
2 seconds to go. Kellen is hovering the Vayne, and we got Vayne versus Space Vayne here. Jin Air's possible final LCK game ever. Could be coming in here, not entirely sure what the fate of Jin Air is going to be as the team moves down to Challenger.
Man, the win rate with first Baron in this game is basically 100%. Both of these comps suck against Baron.
Yes, that is definitely true.
They are atrocious against Baron. So Baron here is a very big win condition. It turns out Jin Air should have first argument around Baron, because theoretically, if Tana's up there, Renekton's going to be some degree of sad, unless Tana's multiple deaths into the death chain.
And if, like, this is a Jin Air composition that actually plays extraordinarily well if they're in the Baron pit, right?
Sure,
If you get to
yeah.
set up tentacles, my goodness. It's fantastic news. But Jin's kryptonite seems to be setting up any sort of clean Baron play. Last game looked to be unlosable. They found a way by making a horrific Baron play, so maybe now, with the fact that that sort of play has been shored up, could be an opportunity, but oh, it's frightening. And this is a composition that looks really strong coming out of Hanwha.
I'm just not sure Jin deserve the kryptonite kind of analogy. It's almost like the turning into a pumpkin analogy at a certain time is perhaps the bigger issue, right? The clock strikes 15:20 and they just really haven't been able to get it done. However, a bit of a roster change, the Alawi, which is always cool to see. They ain't got wave clear, but they've got some pretty strong lanes. Let's see if Malrung can do some gambling and get them ahead.
Yep, hopefully you can get them ahead far enough so that when they fall off this cliff, they can win on their way down. Let's get into game number 3.
What? That is what I call a revved up Jin fan who doesn't want to see a 3-0 defeat.
He's gonna stall the plane, man. You can't rev it that hard.
I appreciate it though.
Oh, absolutely. It might have been his last one.
Yeah, you might as well make it count, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to do with the cast, of course. As
Try
Tana
not to think about it, Papa.
patrols the
Try not
top
to think
side,
about
we're
it.
staring at the Alawi tentacles. Tentacle monsters, oh my.
Yes, indeed.
Usually bad news. When the tentacles come out,
Yeah.
usually bad news. I don't know about any friendly tentacle monsters. Flubber doesn't count, that's not really the same.
No, but aren't there some in SpongeBob?
See, I'm not versed on SpongeBob, I'm too old. I'm a boomer when it comes to SpongeBob. But I do know about Day of the Tentacle, and there were friendly tentacles in that game. By the way, if you guys haven't played Day of the Tentacle, definitely play it. Great adventure game.
Oh, but what about Octodad? He's got tentacles, and he's super lovable.
Look, you're right.
Yeah,
I do defer to you on that.
And it was Mr. Squidward that we're talking about here from SpongeBob, and he's a nice guy sometimes. Some episodes he's a bit of a jerk, but
That's not the Mr. Squiggle
no,
I know. You know
Mr.
Mr.
Squiggle.
Squiggle,
I know Mr.
yeah.
Squiggle.
In case you guys don't know, that was a children's show where they would draw upside down and you'd never know what it was and then turn over and it'd be amazing.
Yeah. And also like it'd just come with like random lines on the page, and he'd do it all with his nose. It was the best. Do you know? I actually just thought that it was him doing it with his nose, and then my older self remembered that it's a puppet.
Yeah.
And there was a hand in there drawing it. And
Australian
it became way
references.
less impressive.
Now we got some bad stats to look at some things. First tempt game on the Hanwha Live side. So there was a couple of negative ratios on the Hanwha Live side. Unfortunately, the Jin ones are a little bit more concerning. Kellen, for example, has not been killing me softly with his Tom Kench win rate.
How is Root 100% win rate on Vayne?
Because he's only played it a very small amount of times.
Once.
In fact, that's a very Atlas sample size going on there.
Yeah, I love it.
Bigger issue is that Hanwha Live are 10-0 in games consecutively against Jin Air in 2019. Also, Jin Air have not won a series against a opponent of LCK stature in 189 days since beating a FLICKR Freaks in early March.
I hope that stat continues to build, Papa.
Well,
even if they get relegated.
I mean, it is very likely to be. CJ Enteser like 700 at this point.
Well, Bono's coming in.
Actually, 1,000. It's been since 2016.
It's been a long time. Malrung turns up. Bono is here pretty predictably. Of course, ganking the Alawi lane as the minion wave moves underneath the turret.
Now, Bono is
oh
definitely
my
ahead
goodness.
of this.
Yeah, exactly. He's going to show himself now as Test the Spirit does come down. Tana's going to flash Malrung way too late, and he just gives him up. Knows that he's dead. First blood to the Crocodile. Oh, man.
None of these guys have ever played Teemo. They never scout ahead, Atlas. They just go in, think they're fine. And Bono's birthday came early, just chilled in the brush until it was very clear no counter gank could happen. And suddenly, it's the Caitlyn scenario. Bot lane Root probably
he's
dead.
on fire. He's underneath the turret. He's
He'll
okay.
live.
He's okay. Only level 3. Ignite not doing that much damage.
Combat spell advantage, and now combat spell is down. But Atlas, this is the same as when Caitlyn loses her summoners. Alawi, now with no flash, no teleport, is not all that she's cracked up to be in the 1v1.
Yeah, hoping now that the minion wave does just so happen to move directly underneath her turret and stays there forever.
Great, so then the whole point of Alawi is void.
Absolutely, yeah. 100% bad. Jin though, they've got the wave on their side of the map at the moment, so at least Vayne can catch up.
Taking Challenger's career is a really big step down for an org like Jin has always been in the LCK stage. Obviously, there's a lot less fans. Some games don't even have a live audience. It's just different, right?
And I mean, if you think about it, like the LCK is sponsored by SKT. The one of the more recent StarCraft leagues was sponsored by Jin.
Yeah.
You know, it was painted all over the Spo studio. It's certainly a big esports org that we're going to be losing if they do lose this game.
In case you guys need the confirmation, they are the sister airline to Korean Air. Of course, with the top two carriers, Asiana and Korean Air, the big Korean international airlines, and Jin Air kind of the short hop, affordable student version.
Yep, the Tiger Air if you're an Australian. I don't know the short haul airlines in the US, I apologize, or in Europe.
That story I heard about Jin Air, which is just a rumor, so take it for what you will, is that back in 2015, my first split here, GBM-inspired Jin Air actually made a pretty deep run in the Worlds Gauntlet. They got through the first round, they were 2 best-of-5s away from Worlds. I don't remember if they made the final or just the semi-final, but you know, they didn't get over the line. And the rumor was that if they had made Worlds, they would have renamed Korean Air, being the first ever team to actually wear the bigger, you know, the bigger name tag of Korean Air. But it never happened, and sadly, Jin Air never got closer to the success that I'm sure that all the loyal years of support Jin Air were hoping for. Now we're in a scenario where it's the reverse, right? The big step down to Challengers Korea, and Alawi blowing all the summoners early in the game certainly does start what does feel like a downwards descent.
And you can see Tana is feeling that pressure a lot. Bono's up here, stealing away the Krug camp, even has his control ward down. And I mean, diving in Alawi, definitely not a great idea. So don't be doing that. However, this is someone with way more control than he should have.
And he's got a jungler in his back pocket.
They're still trying to do it. They're hoping that they can get there before the level 6
we
does come down. He does hit that level 6 mark, but he gets pulled up into the sky and destroyed. Not a chance to get anything
are they going to try it again? Are they going to go for another?
Oh god, Grace turns up. He's another one.
No minion
tribute.
wave. No minion wave.
Yeah, does have the World Ender. Is now so on. Has to be careful. Not going to get another turret shot. Grace at least survives. Jin Air do utilize this moment though to go and take the coveted Ocean Drake.
He's walking around, but what could he realistically do here?
Well, the teleport is going to be invested, apparently, yeah. So Malrong going to get the smite down, but it's not over yet. Kellen eats the Grey Health. He is a very dead catfish in the back of this pit, delivered over to So-On. As, yep, Jin Air, they got the Drake. There we go.
Answering teleport, Tana will have a TP advantage, but doesn't matter, right? Tana never wants to leave the 1v1.
Nope.
And right now, he's not even in the best state in the 1v1, because if you get that first item, a Spear of Shojin, early enough, thinking that Tana might actually be smarting quite a lot in the 1v1.
Yeah, precisely. Especially if it's paired with the Executioner's Calling that's already there for So-On. So those tentacles not going to be giving you back all of the health that they do, which is why the Alawi is so incredibly strong. In fact, Ixu just recently winning on the Alawi, it was because there actually weren't enough. It was so funny, so ironic that we were talking about needing Morellonomicons in a game with LS yesterday, but it wasn't in fact the case. The Alawi is just so good if she's allowed to get all of that free regen, but someone's going to deny it.
Let me be clear. I believe the kernel of LS's endless frustration over Morellonomicon is actually very well founded.
Yep.
I actually think that Morellonomicon is overbought. I think sometimes he chooses to ignore things like having not enough item slots, so actually like you might as well upgrade something. You can't sell your stopwatch or your control wards. But I think, in general, he's on the mark.
Yeah. I'm not a huge fan, as Tana is still going to be, if he lands a Test of Spirit, So-On still takes a hell of a lot of damage.
Yeah.
But it's only a small taste of what could potentially be possible there, as, remember, Condemn does proc the Last Breath that Malrong now has hijacked. There's possibilities. There's the flash immediately as soon as The back is channeled from Malrong as we've got multiple members here. Killer Instinct down. The barrel comes on through, easily delivered and picked up by Songyun. He's the one that signed for it, but that's a package that didn't have to go very far.
And for an Ocean Drake, they have traded so much immediate gold, and now it's starting to be smeared all over the members of Hanwha Life. Not all going to be cooped up in the top lane. A bit for Yasuo, a bit for the Kai'Sa, looking like a delicious Hanwha Life bagel.
Yeah. And I know you bring up bagel because you're supposed to smear the cream cheese on it.
Yes.
But schmear is just not a very nice word, you know? It's spoken about a lot of other things, you know, that aren't necessarily as good. And at the moment, this is one of those schmears, and not the delicious cream cheese variety.
Surprised this Tempt's first game of Yasuo in Summer Plus playoffs, because if you remember, he was a good Yasuo player.
He was,
Historically, he was good in Spring even on the pick, but I guess he's been in and out of the roster. They want to
Hex
kill
flashing
Tana
in,
again.
headbutt pole. And you got to hit those, Tana, if you want to be able to offer anything back, but wasn't actually going to threaten Key all that much.
What do you do against a lane dominator? Well, if you can get out of lane first, you can just attack the 1v1 champion with rotations, and right now it feels like almost everyone can be a guest star in the sitcom that is top lane, and there won't be any cost elsewhere on the map because Jin Air are pretty far behind.
Yes. And in the early game, being far behind is not something that Jin Air ever want. If they want any chance of winning a game, they need to be as far ahead as possible, because it just shows that even if they have a 10, 8, whatever the gigantic lead they had in the last game was, everything is losable.
You don't need to convince them. Sadly, they are well aware of this reality. They have partaken in it for too damn long. A lot of great players have come through the Jin Air org. You guys talked about how Ixu, former Jin Air top laner.
Yep.
Teddy, everyone knows about, but just through the years.
Soan, pretty good top laner. As we've got a bit of a fight here in the river. Malrong does go golden, keeps himself alive for the moment, but you're right, Papa. He was indeed dead.
He's surrounded by a firing squad of enemies and no way to get away from that. So many players coming through Jin Air. Of course, a lot of players ended their career there. Reaper retired on Jin Air back in 2014. Yep. Thinking of players like Captain Jack, who ended his career playing Jin Air into Longzhu. Trace, of course, now drafting coach of gen.g. He was over on Jin Air. They really were an outside contender for a long time. Never a favorite, but always in the conversation of teams that could make a run.
And a breeding ground
Yes.
for really big names. As Ixu makes his way back in, he's not necessarily the best example, but Teddy, a superstar at the moment for SKT, as Hanwha are looking for Tana underneath this turret. Test Spirit does land though, and now Bono has to deal with a lot of very frustrating tentacles. An extra kill, 3,000 gold, and a mental that I think Boom doesn't quite do justice.
And by this game, though, you're just shattered, right?
Yeah.
As we're seeing, I guess you would call it a 1v1. Malrong is 2 levels behind, and it was just Kellen. So actually, maybe the flash there was unnecessary.
Still got a flash, though.
Agree.
10 out of 10. Nice work, Jin Air.
This is the perfect lane assignment. We talked about how Ilaoi really doesn't want to be against 2 people.
Okay. I want to bring something up here.
I'm
And
listening.
this is going to be... I'm looking at a glass, right, and there's like a drip at the bottom, and I'm calling it half full. But think about if Jin Air reverse sweep from here.
That would be my favorite way to go.
That would be actually the most epic.
Yeah, it'd be Pog.
Yeah.
It'd be Pog Afrika, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Oh, man. I love Pogafreaka.
I know.
It's when Yukal's yelling and screaming,
Yeah.
you know?
Aiming's frontlining,
Oh, yeah.
and it's working.
It's work, exactly. He's arcane shifting into brushes he doesn't have vision in and then killing people. It's not likely, but we can dream. That would be a Jin Air that knows exactly how to please their papa.
I feel like I was never there enough for Jin Air. That would make sense with their
Yeah?
unfortunate growth. They needed their papa.
You've been a bad papa.
Hey, I had to be their papa for 94 minutes.
Yeah, and you had to be a papa for a lot of teams as well.
That's true. I tried to spread my love. Sadly, Jin Air always needed more.
Yeah,
As Malrung,
When you got too
he
many
had no
kids,
love here.
sometimes
He got
one of them
bullied.
misses out.
Bullied to death.
Because they're the middle child. Is that the problem?
Middle to bottom.
As we mentioned before, guys, we're laughing to keep from crying. Summer Life still with a lot of control, 4,000 gold, 3.5. Okay, I guess. Zalaui's found another solo lane. Kleptomancy getting some money. Not quite enough. Kellen. I mean, Root is ahead by 1 season. But he's still ahead. Doing okay. He's 10th. Looking for it. They get the knock up though, and that is a real dead Aatrox. My god, this duo is so cookie cutter.
Might be time to start reminiscing, Atlas.
Yeah, I think so too.
So I think we're getting cancelled early today.
This TV show not getting the ratings.
No,
that we
we're
were
not
looking
getting
for.
renewed. The Jin Air story's not getting
Oh,
renewed.
No.
After asking too much money, it was
I
awkward.
thought we were waiting for that, you know, negative storyline. You know how you were talking about you wanted to end the story on a low note, as you wanted to include 2019 in my KT bedtime story? Well, this is certainly along those lines, but we're getting cancelled.
My bedtime story would be the Rocks Tigers, that depending on where you ended it would also be a sad story.
That's true. Great character development in that story as well. What a good character.
2016 summer, great memory of that one. Of course, they went on to lose to SKT in the semis, so didn't quite end it happily either. To me, those are always the best stories because life is a lot like that. How often does the good guy win out and that's the end of the story, he just won? Like, there's
Life
always
isn't poetry, man.
No.
It's not how it goes.
Sometimes you feel like those stories were misleading, but you understand the thoughts behind them.
If Jin Air was poetry, it could have been written by one of those real dark ones. Could be like an Edgar Allan Poe type style.
No. I know what you mean. Some war poetry as well.
Yeah. Hemingway.
Yeah.
It's not good.
And I wonder how many of these players will still be in LCK next year. So I imagine the roster will fracture at least a little bit. Root, we would imagine, would have a spot somewhere.
I think so.
Malrung maybe in a substitute role around. I think Malrung could work around a lot of experienced players. He's never had that. He was on Ever 8 Winners, obviously.
Wow. Damage.
And then went over to Turkey and came back onto...
Yep. And when Ever 8 qualified for the LCK the first time, it was all about Malrung.
It was so
he was
hyped.
a god.
Jace jungle, Jax jungle.
Yeah.
He was big on all those picks. He brought out a lot of stuff and debuted a lot of picks that other people would go on to steal.
Yep.
But he doesn't always go the way you expect. Like, for example, MVP was almost, or were relegated from Challenge. They were like bottom 2 in Challengers, and Beyond is the only person still on the roster. And he was bad in Challengers, despite in 2016 looking like SKT for 2017 Jungle Elect before Peanut was available.
Yeah.
Beyond was top 3 in consideration for that role across most analysts. And now, of course, time hasn't been kind to him, so... You hope everyone finds their feet, finds their way up, but definitely no guarantee. Sports can definitely be cruel.
It can. Cruel to aeroplanes, largely, as it turns out. Still yet to get a kill in this game, but at least the Allow is demanding some respect from Sowan's Renekton.
Quite a strategy, almost. I don't know if you need to respect her, but, like, don't randomly loll in her face, because bad things can happen.
Don't get E'd, is the thing. 4 members of Hanwha looking for some, they're going fishing on the top side. Fish ain't biting.
I wonder how this goes.
Well, E's missed.
And the wave
Tentacle
clears.
slap does land.
You know, Sowan is a pretty good weak side top laner. I don't think he carries very well, which is ironic because he was a Riven 1 trick.
He's Aurelia was doing some work in the games that they were winning.
I don't think he
end of the
takes
season.
over a game like a Nuggery, right? Not many people do.
Doesn't make the game entirely about himself.
I mean, SKT could pick him up if they dropped crazy, right? And, like, it wouldn't change much.
I mean, what, he'd sit on a bench for the entire season?
Hey, you win a lot on the bench.
Hey, that's true. Best bench moments ever. You saw the grin on Marta's face when they won the summer final.
So Huni making Worlds means he's the first player to make it with 3 orgs. Now,
Hey, and
Flame
Flame
did
as
as
well,
well,
yeah.
but does he count?
If he's taken as the sub, yes.
See, On the one hand, I agree with you, but on the other hand, is Upset a runner-up for MSI because he was nominally the sub on G2 for MSI 2017, never played for the team? You know what I mean? Like, how do you reconcile those two things?
Well, promising you.
But is he an MSI champion? He at least played 2 games on the team.
I mean, Mickey wasn't there for the start of.
The way I look at it is that like it's a slippery slope. So
yeah, I mean, an honorary participant by just being there as a sub is, yeah, it makes it difficult. But it's a cool stat, and I'd like to give it to Flame. You know,
I just think it's true but facetious.
It is. It is. Right? It's like technically true, but actually false.
Look, I understand arguments on both sides. I'm not trying to.
Hey, we don't know. We don't know who's going as the substitute to Worlds, and Flame might be playing. It might be that Noguri doesn't have.
Yeah, but I mean, who else do you take? Right? You're not going to take
Hoyt. You could take Hoyt.
You could take Hoyt. You're not going to take Punch at this point, you would imagine.
No. I think Canyon playing too well.
I think you have to take. I mean, Flame will be there because he's at least a coach, right?
Yeah. It's like the reason why Marta will be there as well for SKT.
You would imagine so. That's not to be decided yet, though. Very interesting to see who they choose. Could be Marta, could be Haru.
I'd love for them to bring Haru. I think that would be fantastic. I think SKT plays extraordinarily well around jungle subs, always have. We're sort of the first team to really utilize it.
Well, in this particular game that we're choosing not to speak much about because it's kind of over already.
Yeah.
Could still make a couple of mistakes, but we'll take a couple. Jin Air, oh baby.
I mean, if Jin Air were in this winning position that Hanwha are in, then we would definitely be talking about this game being well and truly over in favor of Hanwha. But So On is split pushing on the top side. Jin Air are milling about in the river. They put down some wards and some tentacles, and they allow Hanwha to destroy them.
And you know what the problem is, Atlas? Well, comp is kind of hard to play because your Alawi isn't in the lane she wants to be in when she wants to be, and you have no initiation.
And yeah, the comp relies on you being where your opponent wants to be before them.
Jin Air can't do that.
And they're not allowed to be there. There's barely anywhere that they're allowed to be. As the dragon is gone, it's picked up pretty comfortably there by Bono. And Bono has all of those really cool items that we talk about. For the Gragas, this game was already extraordinarily scary, and it's way worse now. As, yeah, I think we can continue talking about, you know, Korea's prospects at Worlds and anything else you want to discuss on your potential last broadcast here.
I'm having everything and nothing kind of day. When it comes to Korea, I think SKT is like pretty inked on to make semis, right? From there, obviously they could do really. I think they could definitely win, but I think they're like minimum expectation is semis.
I think so too.
Which would already be an improvement on last year. We got knocked out in quarters.
What are fair expectations for Damwon and Griffin? I want to hear your opinion on that because, you know, they have never been tested on something like this, but do you think that's realistic?
I mean,
how do we
if Damwon
justify
get a bad group draw, then I think groups is possible. I think Griffin is so out of it in big games, it'd be hard to see them winning a quarter, but like, they could definitely win Worlds. It's just, could never bet on it.
No.
I hate teams
you're
like
right.
that.
Headbutt pole. There is a Devour for Malrung, but he's boxed into the wall. Sangyu comes down, tries to run in the pain, but Root, he's got the final hour. They're going to get a kill. It is answered back immediately. A trade of supports. As Hanwha now trying to use those big wallets of theirs to catch the remaining members of Jin Air. Not able to. A 1-for-1. A Jin Air win. Theoretically, given the fact that it's so far behind.
You don't need to caveat. Everyone can see what happened, Atlas. Unfortunately, Renekton was nowhere near, didn't have a teleport ward, and the fight ended, so they don't get anything from that win. They don't even really get a map reset because Renekton just says, and goes back to the second inner turret they want to crash down.
Yeah. I think anything that's not an outright loss at this stage feels great for Jin Air.
Agreed, but you want to shout about a pick into a Baron base that gets a TP. That's like a win, right? Even if you don't get the Baron.
Yeah.
But it was a pick into an answering pick into Renekton keeps pushing, which is where things kind of fall apart.
Yeah. Party has been pooped.
See, Griffin is the hardest one because there's no accurate prediction for them.
Yeah.
Apart from like Lull will probably lose the best of 5 and choke, which
and like, you know, hey, we kind of did okay at Rift Rivals against.
Did they though? They did lose.
Oh yeah, they were the only team that didn't lose the
Oh,
game. That's
that
true.
wasn't a good headbutt bomb, right?
That was a fantastic devour though, as he once again into the fire as there's the last breath. Grabs a couple as Malrung gonna flash. Tana right in the middle of the fight though. The test of spirit, the leap of faith. Is this the faith that we've been looking for though, as Grace dives in, double knock-up, so on is huge, but Root has the final hour, and it might be that for Hanwha this game, as the Baron is on the menu for Jin'e.
Is it the start of something special? They get the smite, they get the double. Hanwha Life was separated. Jin'e looking to pick up the Baron and stop the eulogy right now.
Oh my goodness, are we off the runway? Is this it? This is a Baron. This is still a 5,000 gold lead for Hanwha. Jin'e are epically surmountable, but can they do it just this once?
They rescue what was seeming like an unassailable game state and goal lead around 8,000, I believe, when this started. Botched by Key, but Temp didn't need to go in. Could have ended the fight here, but decides to go in with his W down, and Root says thank you very much. Pre-buffers to condemn Kai'Sa into the wall. Both damage threats dead, and suddenly doesn't matter what everyone else has. Hanwha Life out of the fight, nice and early.
Yeah, Jin'e showing that there is life left in them after all. The plane looked like it had no wings in the first two games. Yeah, or anything. In fact, didn't know there was a plane. It's a bunch of kids pretending they have one, but now feels like they've built it. There's the killer instinct onto Sangyu. Malrung wanting to do it. He stole that one away, and he wins the 1v1 off the back end, but it's a triple kill for the Crocodile. Off the side, and the Vayne is dead. Tana, I don't know whether he's got the damage for this one, and that is going to be the fact as Hanwha, they lose the Baron, but they win the follow-up team fight.
Beautiful tracking on that team fight, Atlas. You caught Malrung's kill, but unfortunately towards the right.
My Jin'e cup is half full, Papa Smithy, you can't stop me.
Unfortunately, it was also mostly spilled as Yasuo got the great connection. That means overall team fight victory to Hanwha Life Esports, and it largely negates the Baron buff only being worn by Malrung.
Do you know why it's spilled though? Because I'm jumping around in excitement, okay? And that's the way that we're going to go out.
That's why I was complimenting you for your tracking, Atlas.
I've complimented tracking before, it didn't
You
go
have.
so well.
It's a good Google, by the way. Google beautiful tracking. Maybe at Apex or Overwatch in there. As
maybe just don't.
in this fight, I was focusing on, this Gragas looking for a cast. He found it, and everyone died. And this is pre-Infinity Edge.
We have to remember that during the fight, the camera was slightly askew, okay?
Kind of like how Soldier 76's ultimate was slightly in play.
Yeah. In my defense for that one, his tracking was still good.
You're right. The Soldier 76 with ultimate did not miss any shots.
Yeah. Yeah, but the crosshairs that are irrelevant during that ultimate were tracking very nicely.
You're right, Alice. I'm not in any way criticizing you in this very inside joke, but you know what? This cast is sort of a little bit about me, so I'm allowed to make it.
Absolutely.
As Hanwha Life wanted to be all about them, we thought it was.
It's all about Tana, actually, as Kellen turns up to ruin that solo party that he was having.
I don't really know if Tana can do too much here, but stranger things have happened if you're at level 16 on Alawi.
Yeah, Malrung gets himself a Dominus.
Now, as long as Key doesn't botch another headbutt Pulverize, this is now Infinity Edge Yasuo. And that earlier kills was pre-Infinity Edge Yasuo.
Yeah. It's feeling real rough. Malrung almost has himself Leandri's Torment, going for a lot of burning and denial of healing, things like that. Lots of fun stuff. LS, aka Leandri's supporter, really likes it.
Thankfully, Gragas going to be cutting down that Aatrox and Silas healing. This is actually a really good game from Morellonomicon, so I'm not even being facetious there.
Not a bad option.
And
able to dodge that one.
Sangyu, if you remember, is our resident Kai'Sa Morellonomicon player.
Yes, he is.
Let's judge if it would be a good Morellonomicon. It actually would be a really good Kai'Sa Morellonomicon.
Yeah, it would be great.
The flat pen against a team that has no incentive really to build magic resist.
Every unit on the opposing side.
Well, not the
Regen from the Grey Health.
I just mean like he's got a lot of magic resist. The flat pen not as useful, but you're right. The healing cut down, very useful. We went on a little bit of a wee situation on
that was where we got some lift With some lift, and then the flap broke.
Have you ever played
And then
Flappy Bird?
Flappy Bird? Yeah, I played some Flappy Bird.
Well, that was, you know, you need to build up some momentum to get the big jumpy with the Flappy Bird.
That's true, that's true. I feel like Jin are the people that just really, you know, the ones where you're watching them play Flappy Bird and they just straight up don't understand what momentum is, you know?
That actually does one-to-one map to Jin.
Yeah, exactly. They just crash directly into the next lift.
Why can't we give them training wheels, Atlas? Maybe the training wheels are in challenge business. Bono has to flash away.
Yeah, there we go. All right. There might be some training wheels for them in challenges, but
I reckon Jin Air bowl with the bumpers on.
I want Jin Air's slot to be bought by like Hyundai or something like that. Oh, go to a car. Let's not try to fly before we can drive.
That's very alone, but very strong.
Grace is doing some flips here. As someone's on the bottom side, you know, winning the game and things like that. Which is what Hanwha should be trying to do.
Taking the every man is an island thing pretty literally, although he's adjusted his build, not just purely for the 1v1. He does have the gonna try and team fight and the Sterix.
I mean, there's some negative synergy there, but also some positive synergy with the Dominus. It does half the damage, but like, you get extra free health, so having just flat resistances is cool.
It makes him very tanky boy, so it gives him more of a team fight role.
Allows him to choose. It's like he's like able to change stance on his warrior. It's kind of cool. Like it. Like tank stance, berserker stance when he presses his R button and has the Spear of Sojin. That's really cool, actually.
They're gonna try and have control over the Baron pick. Remember, they have no initiation to speak of, so want to find a way to force a fight. They got very, very lucky with the fight that was separated, with the threats going in with the last breath around the Raptor pit, where they have a control ward right now. As already, Sungyun clearly has his W evolve on, because he's doing a lot of damage.
Almost towards that Zhonya's, I believe, still has a stopwatch as Bono's going to get slowed down, and Void Seeker, like you say. Kellen going to take a fair bit of damage from that one. Let's have that QSS that you were talking about. So, the fact that it did that much damage is actually very frightening.
Jin's last I was here moment for the chat was, of course, the 94 minutes the Dream game, spring of last year.
Yep.
May have a similar moment like that at the end of this game, but they could also extend the series. Gold lead is back to 8,000, but they've surmounted that already once this game, Atlas, word of the series.
Yes.
I, for one, want more games. I want 5 games. I want the tears
the
and
reverse
the elation
sweep,
and
man.
the exhaustion.
That's still the dream as the barrel flies in, but Kellen eats the Bane while it's in the air, and Tana is going to go golden right in the middle of this fight as the tentacles are going ballistic, and Hanwha, this is not the start of the fight they were looking for. Root on the back end tumbles out of the way of the Gragas, and they grab the kill, and it's on the jungler.
It's happened again, Atlas. They make a big mistake. Don't get the connection. Don't get a last breath. Still available off cooldown.
Who is more nervous, everyone or Jin Air? I don't even know.
It's an everyone and no one situation, Atlas. However, Jin Air back. They're worried about their lane states. They will not roll a Baron, and to be fair, there was a lot of damage left up. However, it's another bit of breathing room. They can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and they don't know if it's the heavens or if it's a way out of game number 3.
Oh my goodness, I just realized. If Jin Air lose all of their inhibitors, right? Tana can still possibly win a teamfight in that moment, because you can stand, set up all of your tentacles around the Nexus, right? And that is the moment where Hanwha have to come to the allow.
What is Hanwha Life doing while he's waiting for all the tentacles to spawn?
Well, I mean, he's been there already, you know, killing minions and stuff, and the tentacles are still there.
This sounds like in solo queue where your Teemo's 0-4 in a counter matchup and says,
he's like,
don't worry, I'll shroom Baron.
Yeah. It's exactly the same situation. But we're not even at that point. Looking for the next Baron.
Baby, this is the way I want to go out!
Oh my god!
Oh, he did it. He's
Morella
going for
Nomakaisa.
the promise to Morella Nomakaisa.
Morella Nisakon.
Is there any other way that could be better for me to go out on?
Most of them. As that's a party, if ever I've seen one. Malrong just returning the ale that he didn't want over to Bono, but Root off on the back end is going to take down the cow. And okay, we were looking for more there on Hanwha Life's side, but they weren't able to find anything. This tempt Can he find the ultimate to end all ultimates? He decides not to press the R button. I think that might have been a good idea. Didn't hit enough targets.
I believe that was also to disengage the minion wave rather than to actually look for a connection. However, Temp's messed up before, so we're never quite to know.
Tempt going in has been sort of a lot of this series. Been forgiven for it as that Void Seeker, yes, good route, needed to be avoided.
This is risky.
Yeah, Alawi making her way back from base though, as we've got the teleport to be channeled. It's going to be a short one, but it's going to mean that Hanwha do back off the Baron.
This is actually a really good play by Hanwha Live because they know they can back away. In a different game, if Jinna has Sejuani and other champions, you never make that play because you can be punished and then you can initiate, but Jinna's low amount of initiation means Tana has to preemptively teleport. Now you have a, 5+ minute teleport advantage for So1 to run it down. And guess what happens when you have a teleport disadvantage? You gotta face check, you gotta make mistakes, you're enforced. Let's see if Jinna can problem solve their way out, because exactly as we mentioned it, Renekton's straight into the bot lane.
Yep, and he's going to continue clearing things up. We'll see whether Tana is going to go over there to answer him, but I have a feeling that that's exactly what Hanwha wants. And you can see Tana is just going to allow the Crocodile to push.
If Aatrox is not recalling earlier, he's the only one with teleport, and obviously the matchup not forgiving, but it's late enough in the game where he's not going to be killed by Renekton realistically.
Yeah, even picks up a chain vest on his way over there, wanting to...
Hey, nicely done there. Malrang tried to steal away the ult from Gragas and had it win-walled. So now he actually has his ult on cooldown and no ultimate available for Malrang. This is really well done.
It's going down so incredibly quickly. Barrel flies on forward, but they're focusing the Baron. It is going to be taken.
Oh, beautiful.
That was some sexy play
that
around that Baron pit.
Sexy friggin' Baron right there. That was such a good map call too. Oh. That was the opposite of the last Baron from Jinna in the previous game.
Yep.
It was just as Pog, but in the other direction. They did everything right.
That's an example that Jinna can possibly take to Challenger.
But now we've got something. You know, there's so many teams in the world. I think of Vitality classically famous for not being able to do Baron. In the
Sandbox
same
in our
series,
own league,
on the same
awful.
patch, we have a terrible Baron and a fantastic Baron, and we can compare them.
There's the VOD review.
I know!
Maybe you could have a send-off VOD review, Papa. Do you reckon you could do one? Just of those two Baron plays.
Someone will get there for it.
Yeah?
I'm just saying, that was a really good Baron. Because they, with a man disadvantage, forced to teleport because they read that the enemy comp had no initiation and would have to TP, even though it was just 4 members, and then did a Baron where the enemy had no way to contest it. They interrupted Gragasol, and then Alistair knew exactly his job was to run in and headbutt a Sylas that couldn't respond.
And he did it. And you love it when a plan comes together. Now Jinna looking to try and defend some inner turrets and decide that it's too risky. One's going to go down. Crocodile once again on the split push on the top side. It's 1-3-1 territory here as Tempt. He's got Ignite, but he doesn't really care too much as that's 6 items.
It's a disaster.
It's a mega disaster.
He sold his Morellonomicon for a hat.
I know, it's what I was going to say. It's a really cool hat, but what about the knowledge you were going to get from that cool book?
He's not going to know. He can't even read it.
Exactly.
He wanted to borrow Bono's copy, but he doesn't have any pages to spare.
Maybe he saw that the orb turns into a book and then remembered that he was illiterate and didn't have the option. That would have been absolutely a disaster.
These W's hitting champions going to be a disaster for Jinna, that's for sure.
They really hurt. You saw one getting soaked by Kellen.
We never talked about it. Root, this game has gone the warm-up build. This one has to warm up. If you don't have Ginsu Rage, it's not a very high amount of damage, so you actually need to warm up your autos, get the Ginsu Rage passive, then fight. And with things like Wind Wall and the fact that they're this far behind, there's no guarantee that Root will be able to fight and get those on-hits on before already. He's got plenty of issues. Speaking of issues, Renekton's running away with 1 in-hit, and Jinna got to do something.
Jinna are going to go for this Elder Drake, whether they lose the game because of it or not. They just want to kill some dragons, Grace. That Void Seeker is real dangerous. The Nexus turrets.
What are we doing? What are we doing, Jinna?
Someone back. Do something. I don't know, guys.
All right, they're going to back off. Good news. Back off.
But there's a Nexus turret dead, and now Hanwha, they're going to take the Elder. And, okay, Abyssal Voyage now used as well. So1 gets flashed on. Flash Licky Tongue, I love it. Root is able to charge up that Rage, and that's a dead Crocodile. So 1 less Elder Drake to deal with.
Isn't it irritating how good Hanwha Life is sometimes?
I know! How he's supposed to judge how they are, because of course this is the team that was able to upset the gigantic win rate that SKT set up for themselves.
They
and they did it by
SKT,
being good.
Favorites for first, and they beat Damwon, new favorites for first.
Yeah.
Back to back, with nothing to play for, really. Unbelievable.
Yeah, just really strange stuff.
Well, Hanwha Life, because of just sheer really good play in this one,
Yeah.
are 10,000 gold up, and yes, they botched 1-5, but since then have made some
Extraordinarily
whatever
good
the
decisions.
what do the kids call it? 5-head,
Yeah.
200 of the intellectual quotient,
Oh, yeah.
intelligence quotient actually.
Your ability to meme is 5-head also is Tana. His ability to be in a good position is, that's 4-head. It's not great.
Hello, fellow gamers.
Yeah, indeed.
Well,
Now
Hanwha Life are looking to close it here, Jinair.
One turret between Hanwha Life and Rebirth into the LCK. And Jinair, the plane ride is about to end. They're trying to stop it, but this Nexus turret is already so extraordinarily low. Final hour has been popped, but it might be better used to describe Root's experience in the LCK.
And Jinair Greenwings experience in the LCK.
Yeah. I mean, Jinair have been here for a while, but Root only had that final hour, really. Grace desperately trying to get some of these knockups, but the tower is going to fall. It is only the Nexus now, as Jinair are looking for it, but they are burning to death. They are bleeding. As Sunghyun's still alive. The supercharger is there. Root has been devoured, but Jinair are going to be devoured themselves. Hanwha Life, in straight games, get themselves back into the LCK and subject Jinair to challenges for the first time in 5 years.
Congratulations to Hanwha Life Esports. At the end of the day, in 11 games against Jinair, they never lost a game. And the best part of it, Atlas, was in the third game, we actually saw the gap. We actually understood what Hanwha Life could do that Jinair was unable to do. Really good setups around the Baron and the Elder put Jinair in a lose-lose scenario. Sadly, if we know one thing about Jinair in 2019, losing was what they did best. Don't mean it as flame, just the reality of a season they would want to forget. Jinair sadly departs the LCK for the first time in history. That means that Hanwha Life will retain their spot and move forward.
It's fitting. We're losing a great organization and a great commentator at the same time. And things are going to change for 2020.
Change's not always a bad thing, Atlas, even though right now that's not something you could tell Grace.
Yeah, if Kha'Zix came up to him and had a conversation, he'd slap that bug in the face.
Tana only played, what, 15 games on this stage, but he understands what it means. Jinair and all the players that have come through this org, whether they have gone up or down since, will know this is a really, really sad moment for the organization and just a changing of the guard. We started with only 8 teams in LCK Spring 2015 before we grew to 10 in summer, and Jinair were there, and Jinair were always there, and always good for their memes, and always good for what they would provide. They'd always provide a laugh. They'd always provide those long series they became synonymous with. 2020 will move to the uncharted waters of what the LCK looks like without Jinair Greenwings. We can only hope they try to go through challengers, because to their credit, usually when they're against a challenger level team, they get it done.
Yeah. And the problem was, in this final match, they were against an LCK team.
Yep.
And even yesterday, you know, they crumbled after a great-looking first game. And I think that it was a flow-on effect, you know. This was a team sitting on 3 wins in a row in this tournament. They were actually looking really strong up in that winner's bracket, but then it all went wrong, and you can see...
He's devastated, his Grace.
Absolutely.
Coach Han, who's been the only person there for all of it, trying to hold it together. People would always say, you know, don't you want Jinair to get relegated? Don't you want that team with the long games to get out of your league? But they were always the most fun cast, because a Jinair cast was a real test of a caster, because often the games would not provide you with a lot of stimulation, a lot of action, right?
Yep.
And that was the time you could try to unwind, try to make light of it, but you're making light of what is a serious situation for the games. Even though we kept the broadcast together, the crowd is trying to help Grace keep himself together. And that's the face of a competitor. That's the face of someone who did not want to be relegated on the side of Jin Air, so we'll all miss Jin Air Greenwings.
We will. And
They,
a lot of crying fans in the audience there as well that we panned over. It's a sad time, and it's a big moment in the LCK history.
It's one of those things where people always talk about the only thing worse than being remembered negatively is not being remembered at all.
Yeah.
And Jin Air will always be remembered. They were always in the conversation. If you talk to a global fan, they knew their SKT, right? They probably knew KT. But Jin Air would be higher than a lot of the teams you might assume would be more well-known, who had many more playoffs finishes to their name and things like that, because they were always memorable. So I'll miss casting the LCK for sure. I'll miss casting with Atlas. And I'll miss the Jin Air story, because
Me too.
we're hoping it keeps going. We're not to know what it means in 2020. But I don't want to live in a world where Jin Air isn't in the LCK, but I'm going to have to, at least for a while.
You don't have to be here up close and personal, though.
I couldn't
Bobby.
be.
You
It was
found
in my
your ticket
contract,
out.
Atlas.
Yeah. I really hope that you
I read the script. LS leaked it to me.
Okay.
And I was like, well, if they can't be there.
Have you contracted Jin Air to do a long-haul flight for you to take you out of the country for the final time? That would
I'm
be,
not sure I'll
that
get to
would
the
be,
end,
That
so
would be a dynamite picture on social media, my friend. You should probably get there.
I want to arrive safely, and they're not so good at reaching the endings. So for that longer haul, I think maybe the late game is not
Hey,
their
at
thing.
least you know that you'll probably make it to at least the shore of the next place, because they do pretty well. And then it's just like right at the end, that's the problem. It's just a rough landing, Father.
Yeah.
Come on, you can handle
It's
that.
a rough landing, Alice. Jin Air always provided us with a rough landing.
Oh, man. Oh,
It's been a fun journey, though.
it
For
has
Jin Air, I'm
certainly
sure
been a fun journey.
they'll reflect on it fondly in the future. Difficult right now for players like Grace to appreciate that. For me, 4.5 years in, it's been an amazing journey.
You only
through the
missed out on a
LCK.
very small amount of LCK time that Jin Air was here. You know, you've been on most of the journey, and then you get to see them out at the end.
And I appreciate that finality, even if I'm sad about the result. Sad about Jin Air not joining us next year. But at the end, you know, this was not the sum of their oopsies. This was actually Hanwha Life making the biggest oopsie of Game 3, and then doing everything right.
Yeah, clawing it back legitimately, yeah.
And it's nice to have in a battle for the 10th and final qualifier for the LCK, i.e. we're not expecting this to be banger top games. The team play well and win, rather than the team that makes the least mistakes win.
Yeah.
Hanwha Life did a lot right in this game, so they do deserve to move forward to LCK Spring 2020. That is the future. That could mean so many things, and we'll see if Hanwha Life just does another roll around with this roster or makes big changes of their own, because even though they're not an org known to many Western fans, this is a big org. You know, they're up there with Samsung and the other orgs that are called chaebols, which mean kind of like Monopoly level orgs in Korea.
Yeah,
so
the Korean government is really weird, and it's largely ran by a lot of these companies.
endorse
and this is
monopolies.
one of them. Exactly.
And they are one of those endorsed monopolies, but definitely not in their LCK achievement. Who's to say they don't start stacking a roster, and there might be a lot of available talent out there. I imagine KT, Kingzone. We had a very tumultuous offseason coming into 2019. I think we might be in store for another one.
Yeah. This was that big team fight that Hanwha were able to claw back, while I was talking about Malrung being able to get a single kill off to the side. It's what happens. You have to sometimes try and find something positive, but this was all negatives on the side of Jin Air and positives on the side of Hanwha after their one whoopsie that you don't even need to show in the highlight package. So things just looking good here for Hanwha as they make their way back into the LCK at the last second.
And I'm hoping that we turn this into a positive and all the ex-Jin Air members can tweet out happy kind of cheerings to their old org. There are a lot of them out there, coaches, players, staff around. Who's to say Jin Air can't even get in the hype if Teddy goes deep into Worlds, one of their favorite sons, might actually be achieving at the highest point of League of Legends, but the reality for the original org is they just weren't good enough for the LCK, and previously they had the solace of being too good for challengers. They had their chance yesterday. They were not able to get over the line over the 4th place challenger team in the regular season of APK Prince. Now it's on Hanwha Life, re-extending their time, renewing their permit in LCK.
In fact, they had to go through 3 different former Jin Air players in order to get there. Of course, Soan and then Kakao and Ixu as well. I mean, there's just so many players that have had a stint in the Jin Air Greenwings. The rite of passage no longer there for the LCK.
And a lot of them for the better. A lot of people did their kind of like learnings in Jin Air and then tried to move on to bigger and better things to different varying degrees of success. But Jin Air was always an org to give people a chance. There was a time at the start where they tried to rehash some of the players who had found their success elsewhere, but they evolved in the LCK era, post-2015, to be the org to try to bring out the best in new players. And I hope that we see the same factory of talent for future generations to appreciate.
Yeah, sort of the grassroots now could happen in Challenger in theory. So hopefully Jin Air does stick around. But on the other side of the coin, it's a very elated Hanwha Life Esports that are back in there. It was either lose the gigantic organization or lose the storied organization that's been here in the LCK for so long. It's win-win, lose-lose for us here today. Hanwha Life are the team that are going to be rebirthed into the LCK, and we're going to have all of them here for a conversation very, very soon. Get to chat and see, hear from Sangyun, hopefully.
Yeah,
I'm really glad that we're not losing him, at least yet. I mean, something crazy could happen as far as player swaps, but I really hope Sangyun does stick around because he's just such a great personality to have in the LCK.
Sangyun and Kia are our longest established duo lane.
Yeah, exactly.
Still going around in Korea. We lost Def Mada and Bang Wolf and a lot in the turmoil of last year. Sangyun and Kiev kept together, and it's hard to say whether that was for the best after all. Like, if we're going to look in hindsight, they could never really get a lot out of what was previously their strongest point, the bot lane. There was times where both players struggled a bit with individual performance, but hopefully their mic performance in the interview will be as amusing as when they were just beating top teams like Damwon and SKT at the end of the summer regular season.
Yeah, hopefully we'll find some information as to how they have these extraordinarily high highs, but still do have those low lows. And here we go. So throw it to Ji-sun for some translation.
Thank you very much, guys. This is Jason with the interview translation, and we'll be hearing from the Hanwha Life Esports player and head coach. With 3-1 victory, you guys are remaining in LCK. Head coach, how was today's match overall? I cannot say I'm really happy that we won. It's really sad because we've been together for a long time, and Jin Air always was doing their best, and all the players were doing their best, but for all the players in both teams, it's really sad or sorry that we met in such a hard situation. So I just want to say that they did a great job to the Coach Han and also all the Jin Air players.
네, 선수들 정말 모두 고생 많으셨습니다. 상윤 선수가 좀 분위기를 웃겨주세요.
상윤, so I need your help, I guess, right here.
하나생명의 모습 중에서 가장 인상적이었던
What was the most impressive thing from Hanwha today? We could check in the mic check. You guys are very vocal and sure about every decision. So where did the trust come from?
솔직히 오늘 막 엄청 쉽게 이길 거라고
We
생각은 안
didn't
했는데
really
1세트,
think
2세트
that we're gonna have a very easy game, but through game 1 and 2, we knew that if we just don't let our guards down, we will be able to pull it off.
어차피 이겼으면 됐다 하는
And the final mic check, you said, well, as long as we won the game, it doesn't really matter.
이기면 끝이에요.
So what I wanted to say about it, that was that the score really doesn't matter if whether we got the 3-0 or 3-2. The result really matters.
오늘 이 부분에 가장 집중해서
Key, what was the focal point when you were playing together with Sangyun today?
원래 자고 일어났을 때 컨디션
When I woke up in the morning,
영향이 좀 있는데 오늘 괜찮아가지고
well, I was feeling really fresh. So I felt if I just don't make mistakes, we will be able to win, and I was able to pull that off.
그리고 소환 선수의 활약도 안정적이었는데요.
And Soan, you were very stable and consistent, and you faced up against two different top laners today. Was there any difficulties? Both two were really hard, so I got a lot of help from Bono.
일라오이가 나오면서 이번 승강전에 일라오이를
And another Laoi popped up in game number 3, so there were a lot of Laoi games in this relegation series. But it has gone through a lot of buff, and after I got beaten up by her, it was really hard, so I hope she doesn't get get locked in today, but it happened, so I was really suffering. And Tempt, I want to ask you about the Elder Dragon still. How were you able to be calm in such a crazy situation? It was a very, very late game, so LeBlanc's damage is much bigger than the Smite damage. So I had the confidence, and I calculated that I will be able to kind of steal that away. And Bono, as always, you were doing a lot of work. And you guys were able to get the perfect game score today.
제가 이번 승강전에서 좀
During this
같이
promotion
못한
series,
모습들을 보여드렸는데
I have been a little bit
그래도
shaky.
저희 팀원들이
However,
많이
my
잘한다
teammates,
생각해서
I trusted my teammates that they were really great players, so I didn't think that we will lose. I rather just trusted my players. 상인, in the early game of game number 3, it was very maybe one-sided even in the early game, but it took a bit of a while to finish the game. Well, we could finish the game earlier, but he kind of threw the game. He was a bit inting. However, well, we got better items. We had stronger power, so we were able to get the win in the end anyways.
어떤 생각 드셨나요?
So what came to your mind when you guys won the game number 3?
추석 연휴 잘 쉴 수
Well,
있겠다.
this is finally over, and I will be able to have a very good the holiday vacation, and I thought that my players did a great job.
감독님 먼저 다음 시즌
Then any resolution about the upcoming
항상 이렇게 현장
split?
찾아와 주시고 TV로 응원해 주시는
Well,
많은 팬분들께
I
정말
always
감사의
appreciate
말씀드리고요.
all the
이번
support
시즌
at the arena and also from the
팀적으로도
TV
그
and computers.
팬분들로서도 굉장히 힘든
And
시즌 보낸 것
this
같은데
was a
다음
very hard
시즌에는
split
이렇게
for
마음
the team
졸이면서
and the fans as
힘들게 안
well.
보실 수
So
있게끔 정말
I
최선을
will
다해서
do our
준비할
best to
테니까요.
prepare
끝까지 하나생명
for our fans
응원해
to
주셔서
not have a hard
감사하겠습니다.
time again
추석 연휴 잘 보내십시오.
and have a happy holidays.
네, 계속해서 많은 응원 보내주시길 바라겠습니다. 소환 선수 스프링
소환,
각오
Would you
들어볼까요?
like to add on to that?
다음에는 좀 더
Well,
잘하고
in the next
팀원들이랑
split, I will do
합을 더
better
맞춰서
and come back with better teamwork with
다 같이 잘하는
teammates.
모습으로 돌아오겠습니다.
So we will come back with
감사합니다.
improved performance as a team.
네, 멋진 각오 감사드립니다. 보노 선수는
And
비시즌
Bono,
어떻게
how
보낼
are you going to
계획이신가요?
spend the off season?
그냥 추석 잘 쉬면서
Well,
솔로
I'm gonna
랭크
rest
하면서
during the
그냥
holidays,
할것 같아요.
and I'm just gonna play solo queue.
네, 보노 선수 더 강해져서 돌아올 거라고 믿습니다. 그리고 템트 선수도 각오
템트.
들어볼까요?
Any resolutions?
지금보다 더 열심히 해가지고
I will try harder than now and come back with improved
그리고 키
performance.
선수도 내년 스프링
키.
계획 목표 들려주시죠.
What's your goal for the
내년에는
spring split
좀더
next year?
올해보다 좋은 모습으로 돌아올 테니
I want to
많은 기대
show
부탁드립니다.
better
감사합니다.
performance
네,
in next year, so please keep supporting.
마지막으로
us.
상윤 선수 팬분들께
And finally,
감사의
상윤,
인사 보내주시길
any
바랄게요.
message for the fans?
팬분들 정말 감사하고요. 6등 할
I-
때가 행복했다라는 거를 오늘 느꼈거든요.
Really thankful
그래서
for all the love and support, and I just realized that staying in the 6th place is a big happiness, so I will do my best to stay on the rank where we are.
네, 하나생명이 승강전 최종전
So Hana Life
승리하면서
secured
대회
their
종료를
spot in
확정됐다는
LCK,
소식
so they will come
전해드리겠습니다.
back in
여러분, 다시 한번 큰
2020
박수 보내주세요.
LCK Spring Split. This will be the end of the interview
네,
with
인터뷰
Hana Life
감사드리고요.
Esports player and
추석
that coach,
행복하게
and I'm gonna
보내시길
pass it
바랍니다.
back to our
감사합니다.
casters. Thank you.
네, 하나생명과 함께했습니다.
Thank you so much, Ji-sun, for the final LCK translation of the year. And welcome back to Hanwha Life Esports. Pretty sad to see on air, and of
Yeah.
course Mina as well, tearing up. Just, it is so sad to see Jin-air leave.
On Air was the first ever Korean coach of MIG Frost and Blaze in 2011 November. Before there was a Korean
Yeah.
server, he was a professional coach. So 8 years professional coach. He knows what it means to be relegated. He wasn't with CJ at the time, but saw his old org get relegated in 2016. So big shout outs to the emotions there. The roller coaster that is professional games.
Exactly right. So there you have it, guys. A 3-0 for Hanwha Life Esports. I think a few people saw it coming, but we didn't want to believe it. Thought that maybe Jin-air would be able to give us a bit of a series here today, but unfortunately after that game number 1 wasn't going to be the case. So they will find themselves in Challengers Korea for the 2020 season. Hopefully they can find themselves. Hopefully the redemption arc is there. Hopefully a lot of our very enthusiastic Reddit members are going to be able to find the result that they were looking for, the hyperbolic time chamber.
I hope it's
Could
not
be
the end of the
case.
Jeunesse story. It's a blip for
Yeah.
sure, but I hope it's not the end.
And it's also going to be the end of our time with you, Papa Smithy, at least
Sure.
for the coming future. You're entirely the reason why I was here, and we're going to throw it to an interview with Papa himself.
LCK 해외 중계진이십니다. 파파 스미스인데 아쉽게도 오늘이 LCK 그 마지막 날입니다. 한국 팬 여러분들께 인사를 나누고 자신 오늘 함께하고 있거든요. 우리 인사 한 말씀 부탁드릴까요?
안녕하세요. LCK 팬 여러분, 글로벌 LCK 해설 파파 스매시입니다.
아이 잘한다.
So hard.
Good job. 함께 했던 그 소감을 좀 안 물어볼 수가 없거든요. 어떤가요, 지금?
So I've been with LCK almost 5 years now.
Wow.
It was my dream from a long time ago. It's been like living a dream for 5 years. This was the perfect dream for me.
아, 말 너무 좋다. 첫날 기억나요? Is your first day in SK?
It was 2015 LCK Summer. It was so scary to come in and broadcast in front of the live fans in a new building, new league and everything. But I definitely look back on it as a really happy memory.
그 중에서 가장 기억에 남는 순간이 있다면 어떤 순간이었을까요?
2016 Summer Final, ROX Tigers versus KT. 5 games. Score has the Baron stolen at 2 HP. The story of ROX Tigers was kind of like a story, like a children's story, like a team that comes together, no big sponsor, and finally wins the big one. The emotion in that stadium, and even to me, the happy ending there, like that's definitely a memory I'll never forget. Like that was for me my favorite LCK memory.
파파도 이 체력 남은 건 기억을 하네요. 함께했던 그 LCK 동료들에게 해줄 말이 있다면 무슨 말이 있을까요?
Like as a foreigner living in Korea, as a global caster covering a Korean league, I didn't know what to expect when it came to, but everyone always made me feel really welcome. Like you and I have gone out and celebrated many a time.
Yeah, right.
We've chatted about the game. We've tried to kind of share ideas about how to move everything forward. And that's why I'm so proud of where we are in 2019, and also what can happen after I go. So it's just been so much fun.
SK를 지금까지 지켜보셨던 글로벌 팬들, 한국 팬들이 굉장히 그리워할 것 같거든요. 팬들을 위해서 한 말씀 좀 부탁드릴까요?
Saying goodbye is always really difficult. I don't think it's goodbye forever. I'm never going to stop loving Korean League of Legends, and I'm going to keep watching the streams and tweeting about it and enjoying it because it's something special. You know, we have that history that goes back before LCS, before LPL. And Korea was the first, and for a long time, Korea was the best. I am certain that Korea will be top of the world before too long. And whether I'm on the broadcast or tweeting about it, I'll be smiling.
사실 말한 것처럼 우리가 지금 완벽하게 굿바이라는 얘기는 하기는 좀 어려울 것 같아요. 금방 또 돌아올 것 같기도 하고 언제 와도 우리는 환영할 거니까 앞으로도 파파의 그 멋진 길을 저희가 같이 응원을 하도록 하겠습니다. See you soon.
See you soon.
Thank you.
We better see you soon, Papa.
Yeah.
We better.
It's hard to say goodbye, you know?
I'm not gonna.
Hey, we'll be friends forever, mate. You don't need to worry about that. But it was my dream to cast Korean League of Legends, you know? And I had to see if there ever was going to be another one. I could have done this job forever. And I'm hoping the next one proves to be what I hope it is. Who knows? I could go on to be a failure and I could be begging for my job back. You never know. But
it might not be here when you get back.
That's true.
I don't know.
And that'd be a good thing. That'd be a good thing for you guys to grow and not need your papa anymore.
It's just going to be uncharted territory, man. When you're not here, it's what does the LCK look like without you? It's changes.
Hey.
It's scary no matter what. I'm hoping that we can build it into something beautiful, but it's going to be a weird dark road.
Look, I don't even need to cross my fingers. I know it can be something beautiful, Atlas. It's not going to be as strong as the most famous caster, Monty and Doa, passed through these great doors. I've passed through. It will go on to grow to better and better things. And guys, we should update you. The next bit of business when it comes to Korean League of Legends will be the group draw show. Damwon, of course, involved in the play-ins draw. That is on the 23rd Monday. So not next Monday, but the Monday afterwards. Late night KST will be that one. I'm on the Korean broadcast. We are.
Hi, guys.
Hello, hello. Thank you so much for everything, everyone. Korean hearts to everybody. But that does end my stay here, Atlas. We're going to go over the last bit of business, I guess, and then wrap it all up for Korean League of Legends 2019.
Indeed, and of course, hopefully we're going to be seeing you at Worlds before the end of everything. But ladies and gentlemen, that'll do it for us. Thank you so much for all of your years of dedication.
Thanks
Papa
for all the
Smithy.
memories, Atlas, and for everyone out there that I worked with. It's been a pleasure. Thanks to all the fans. I'll see you around soon. Hey, love you too, mate.
You take me higher when I feel low. Make my world brighter when I'm alone. I keep on rolling, oh, with your fuel. You're like my gasoline that makes my dream come true. 'Cause this is the beginning.